Greetings, gamers, and welcome to the 144th live stream from the Misfit Gamer Studios. I'm your host, Vortex, and this is D&D Discussions. It has been, what, 2 weeks? It's been a minute. We did have to cancel last Friday, but we are back with a homebrew review. We actually have another community creation coming from Soul Collective Guild. I see you there in the chat. Thank you so much for showing up. I know you were excited to see this one. We have a fighter archetype coming in, a subclass called Way of the Wyrd Armory. I'm assuming it's either that or the Wyrd Armory. I'm not quite sure. It is WYRD Armory. I'm really curious about this because my mind doesn't quite know what to make of that. But when I think of Wyrd, I'm thinking magical. I'm thinking defensive. I'm thinking some sort of arcane backing. So I'm really kind of hoping that we get into something like that. And yeah, we'll see exactly what it gives us. But before that, do we have any other updates? I mean, welcome back, by the way. It's been
Shalom,
over
friends.
2 weeks, I think.
Very excited to be here, back in the studio again, doing things as it were. No, I'm very excited. We got a lot of holiday stuff coming up, but yeah, I have missed our streams. I did a couple of
You have? Yeah. You've been going live yourself?
Yes, exactly. I did a little gaming with you, even though I went back and looked at the video and my camera disconnected, or like my visuals disconnected like so much of that
Yeah,
time.
we'll have to figure out the bandwidth issue.
Yeah.
And move on from there. But,
Still,
we'll figure
it
it
was
out.
a good time. It was a good time, and I've gotten some work done on some of the behind the scenes developments. Next stream, I'm hoping to work on actually creating and being able to customize a template or a theme. So,
Oh, I'm so excited. I haven't seen anything, and I just, like normal, haven't seen anything myself. Just kind of waiting on the finished product. But I kind of like being surprised because a lot of people like to do a lot of the tweaks, I think, during the process, and for me, that's actually very difficult because
I agree.
It's not that I'm stuck on what I see. It's just that I have a process in order to get it at least to a benchmark. And while that benchmark may be beyond the change, I need to at least get to that benchmark. So it's easier for me to, go beyond what you want, right? Like if I give you a first draft and you're like, this is the direction we want to go, and be like, okay, but let me finish the first draft. It's like, yeah, but you're going the wrong way. I was like, I know. But let me finish it the way my brain needs it to be finished. So once I'm there, it's easier for me to back to the spot you want changed and change direction instead of changing direction halfway through. Just trust the process.
Sometimes getting your full thought out is very, very valuable. Like, put it all out there, see what it is that you initially envisioned when this was brought to you, and then after you've finally finished that, then you can redirect if necessary.
Right? Because like if I see what you have now and I make adjustments, let's say like, oh, I don't like that color scheme, or I don't like this font.
Sure.
I could change that, sure, and get what I want out of it and get a mediocre outcome because I got the one piece that I wanted. The problem was I didn't see what your interpretation of the whole thing was, because maybe I still wanted to change the font, but maybe there's a different font that would have worked better with your end goal. But because I changed the font halfway through, maybe you had changed your idea of how to incorporate it because the font I chose didn't work well with the template you used and the margins that you used. So you would have changed the margins. But maybe those margins are what makes it mediocre. Maybe your original margins would have made it better. And if I hadn't have said anything, I would have seen the original margins go, oh, I love this format, just change the font to fit. But because I changed the font and I said, no, this is the font I want, you had to change the format and the that's what I'm thinking is like, that's what I don't want to be in terms of like the orchestrator, right? Like in terms of, yes, I have ideas and future plans for Misfit Gamer Studios, but at the end of the day, I don't want to be nitpicky. You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
We would never have had what we have now if it wasn't for just me just being like, oh, you have an idea? Cool. Let me see the end of the result, right?
That's fair.
And that's the thing is, I'd much rather you come to me with not an end result, you being like, I'm done with this project, but just coming to me with a finished something and being like, oh, cool. These are the things I want to change, not the whole process. Because it might be 10 times easier for you to go, oh, that's surface level changes. But if I try to change it halfway through, you might try to incorporate it into the core when it's not necessary. Like
Yeah.
I'd much rather get to the end result and figure out what we need changed than worry about it halfway. Right?
100%.
Like it's not my process. So I'm really excited.
I feel
to see
that. I feel that.
It's very similar to how we do a review, right?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
I don't want to get all my ideas out before I go live. Because I know I will do that. If I read these, I would have so many ideas when I read them, and then I'd come live and be like, so I had this cool thought. Let me try to remember
What
it.
was it exactly?
Yeah.
Especially when your thought that you had that was really cool was interrupted by another cool thought, and then you went down that train, and it's just like, all right.
Exactly. It doesn't quite work that way for me, at least. So
True that.
so yeah, I'm really excited to see that.
Most definitely.
It's kind of also one of the reasons why I haven't really shared I've shared little bits and pieces of progress with my big project. But,
Oh yeah.
I think it's working.
Yeah.
I think I finally got all the errors removed.
Very cool.
Maybe.
Very cool.
Maybe. If my calculations are correct with my specs, because I don't have the right specs, so I can't cannibalize my GPU for any of the processing.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
have the right specs and the right GPU for it. I have literally like the generation before it.
Oh,
One generation above me, I'd be able to tap into my GPU for processing. So as it stands right now, it'll take anywhere from 10 to 13 hours.
wild.
Just with what I have right now. So I have a couple options. I'm probably going to run it overnight tonight.
Okay.
And because I don't have a stream tomorrow. So
Wow.
I'm just going to run it overnight tonight and see if it works. Because the last time I tried it,
Wow.
it was working. I had other things to do, so I couldn't let it run. But I got no errors and I got no pushback on the code. So the only thing now is I need to run it, figure out what it gives me, make sure it goes through all the episodes. Because I did get an error, but the only error that I was running into was an API limit. So I had ran it too many times during testing. So
Got it.
So my API, so I have to see. I don't know if that was my monthly or daily limit.
Okay.
So I'll have to figure that out. But once
like
I can
that.
run it again, I'm gonna run it overnight, see what it gives me. Because there was a while there where it wasn't producing any files, and then I finally got it to produce the database file, but not the JSON files.
Interesting.
So now it's producing both. I just have to let it run and see how many episodes I get,
Got it.
and then I have to query them, mostly using ChatGPT. I will just have it analyze them and see what it is actually extracting and doing what I need it to do.
Right.
And if that's all done, it should be fine. Because if it runs without error, it should be super fast. Because then I can run it every night after a stream, and it'll just
Right.
automatically grab the new episode super quick.
Yeah.
Right? It won't take.
Exactly.
It's only going to take this long because I'm
of
doing
the
over
library that
200
we have.
episodes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But I should be able to do that, and I can also write in an automated process to where I can just have this run like on a Saturday, every Saturday, and just pick up the last 2 episodes super quick. So
That would be very cool.
that's the goal. The next piece is also figuring out, do I add to it in a way that I can have it go back? Like, either is there any reason where I can add to it and then have it go back? Because really I'm extracting as much as I can. It's really, now that I've extracted it, what have I done with it?
Uh-huh.
So now I'm wondering, can I do anything, or should I make a brand new script or program that will then take what this one has done? Because this one is doing the core work.
Sure.
The next phase is fluffing it up to make it interactable. So then the question is do I do that as a secondary process, or do I try to incorporate it all as one process? So as I run it in the future, it just does it all in one swift movement,
I will say
one episode at a time, or do I try to do something post?
I will say when I started learning programming, there would be like a program that would need to do like a lot of different things, and I wrote it as like one giant code, right? That just does all the things. It
Yeah.
goes through all the processes in this one executable.
And that's exactly what I'm doing currently.
But I have learned that if you want to like add a feature to like do anything, like if you segment your code so where like one process, as long as it can be contained, it's its own thing.
Yeah.
And then you can just pass information between your programs. like a lot of the times with editing and stuff like that and having to go back and add something and correct something, you have to correct a lot less throughout your entire code versus like
Right.
that one segment.
And that's something that I was looking at too, is with this particular project, it already has redundancies to make sure that like I'll run it overnight. And if I run it again, it'll skip anything it already sees, right? Because I'm generating unique hash codes for everything, right? The question is, if I add a feature to it, I can either tell it, ensure that if this feature hasn't been added to the data, but if I'm going to be doing that, I might as well just say, instead of running it from scratch, I guess the real question is from here on out, once I perfect this part of the project, because it's scraping all of the metadata from YouTube.
Sure.
If I don't need any new data being pulled, and all I need to do is manipulate the data that has already been pulled, then that should just be a secondary process. Because I was only ever rerunning them over and over because I was pulling different stuff and doing different manipulation with it. But as long as this works, I should have all the data I need, and it should be cleaned up to a bare minimum where I don't need the raw anymore as it was pulled.
Sure.
And technically speaking, I should still have all of the raw. I should have the raw and the fixed. I should look into that. I should have it saved twice.
Yeah.
If I can have it saved twice, if I could say guarantee save the raw, then do all of these things to it and save that as a different package. If I do that, then I don't ever have to touch this code again.
Yeah.
Because everything after that would just manipulate what I've already pulled.
What's already out.
Because that's my only concern, is I think right now what it's doing is it's pulling the raw data and then it's manipulating it and then saving it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think I'm actually saving the raw by itself.
If before you do it for the last time, as long as you add something in there that just says, hey, print this out at this earlier step.
Yeah.
And then
I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna have that done. Yeah.
That's cool. I like that a lot.
Oh, because that will lead into the website. That'll lead into features of the website that I'm extremely excited about.
And I'm hoping if I can make certain aspects look right, I can actually get like hover features for things. So like when we put it up, like you hover over it, it'll like display something.
Oh, right. Kind of like how you get like on D&D Beyond a little bit.
Yes.
Because that would be great for some of these ones that have like added spells or summons. Yep. It'd be great to just hover over and get like a snapshot of it and then click on it and then get the full thing.
Yes. Or like
really cool.
The ones with the permafrosted condition, like just hover over it and like see what the permafrosted condition is right there.
Right.
That would be really cool. So.
Are we both ready for Christmas?
Never.
Yeah, I mean, in the sense that I have like some parties and some get-togethers.
Like I'm excited, but I feel like there's always stuff to do that I've forgotten to do.
Yeah,
whatever the case may be.
I mean, gift-wise and all of that, I'm ready. I'm ready to see family and spend time with family, spend time with friends. But other than that, you know, I will just say that Christmas isn't necessarily my favorite holiday. I don't have anything wrong with Christmas. It's just that it's over the years, you know, just the gift giving has just kind of become the tainted experience, and all I really care about. Like, I just appreciate the fact that I get so much time off to spend with friends and family from work. Like, that's my biggest thing, is like, it's just, I just appreciate that there's at least still time 100%. I can spend with them.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I kind of don't care about the holiday anymore. Like, yeah, personally, as an adult, the holiday itself, just, I'm glad I can see my friends and family and have an excuse, but
it's not
otherwise,
about the thing. Honestly, I've always said like my favorite holiday is May the 4th, because the way I feel about that holiday, I feel about that year round about that topic. I feel like too few holidays are like that. That actually are just, they're like
too centralized to just, let's funnel it all now and then forget it ever exists.
Let's get into the holiday spirit so that we can get out of it come January. Let's be thankful during the time of Thanksgiving so we can forget about it in 2 months. Like I don't really live that life. So yeah, it'd be what it be.
Like I said, I really enjoy just being with family and just, again, having the excuse and doing something big. But I also do that throughout the year too. So it's nice that we have an excuse and that more people can join in because time off. But beyond that, it's another day for me. Like,
fair enough.
All right, well, we got an ad, so we got like another 2 minutes before we can get into this. Do we have any other updates? Friday's stream may or may not be unique. I'm hoping to make it very unique,
Okay.
but I don't know if it will work.
Okay.
Because it's also the day before I'm hosting the New Year's Eve party here.
That's fair. That's fair.
So yeah, if I can, I will really try to make this Friday unique. And then that will be, I think, because that will definitely be the last
stream of the
well, not necessarily, because we'll be here next Monday, I'm assuming.
Will we?
Because next Monday is the 30th, so that won't be necessarily New Year's Eve. So, and I'll technically have been at work, so I'll be here on Monday. I'll be streaming.
Fair enough.
So Monday will be the last stream. So unfortunately, Soul will not have the last.
Sadness.
Soul will not end us. But we'll figure out who.
That's okay.
We'll figure out at the end of this stream who will be ending the year. But yeah, so this will be the last Friday stream, and then I'm hoping that by the next Friday, so the 3rd, I think I have our topics for the 3rd and the 4th. I would really like to do the history of dragons.
Oh,
it's such a big topic. I was not able to squeeze it in, and I still haven't been able to finish. But I think to really kick off next year, I think doing a history of dragons would be really awesome.
That would be very cool. That would be very cool.
And then following that, we can do a history of Dragonborn, because that would be a really good follow through.
Interesting. Okay, no, I'm here for that. I'm definitely here for that.
So hopefully that will be a really good way to ad breaks in progress. Ad break ends in 2.5 minutes. So we will wait for the ad and then we will begin.
I will say, I did get, because I believe it is talking about who's next and upcoming for our homebrew. Pokeniner is next on our list finally.
Ooh, another one from Pokeniner.
We haven't actually got to. We've had so many reviews from so many other people. We had Marty, we had Cosmic, Desmar, Hecate, and now Soul. Now we're finally getting back to one of his, and he just gave me the most updated version of it. So I am excited to see this Dread Cleric.
Dread Cleric, that's interesting.
Yes, I really hope whenever I hear the word Dread, the first thing that comes to my mind is Judge Dredd, because that was like by all times one of my favorite like corny old weird sci-fi movies. It was
Judge Dredd is cool though. I like the original. I didn't like the remake, but Dredd was cool.
Was there a remake?
There is a remake, and it's not that it's a cool movie, but kind of like Dark Knight. It's a great movie by itself, but like I prefer the original Dredd.
Are you talking about with Sylvester Stallone?
The original one, yeah.
Okay.
That was with there is a brand new one, like a very like a 2018 one.
Oh wow, definitely not what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, no, the original Judge Dredd is an amazing movie.
That's 100%. I didn't even know that existed. All right, good to know.
Yes, Soul, you did give me that idea. I think last week you were talking about that on one of my game streams, the history of dragons. But it's a big topic. So let's see what else has happened. I've done some updates. Oh, I don't want to open that. I did some updates admin wise. Is there anything else we can update?
I saw that there's a Ninja Code channel.
Oh yeah, so in the Discord, if y'all are interested in following Kage until he gets big enough to leave the nest and have his own Discord, I have added next to the game chat in Misfit Gamers community, there's now Coding Ninja chat, which is everything to do with Kage streams. So if you are part of the Discord, link is in chat if you're not. But if you want to follow along with what Kage is doing, if you want to share with chat what you're doing,
sure.
Or if you guys have links, resources for him, or whenever you want to post it, you're live. If you want to make a role for that, you can post it in here and people can, let you know.
I'm here for that.
But yeah, so that'll be a dedicated area until if and when you need your own Discord for it. But if
I don't anticipate getting that large. Let me tell you. Look.
But yeah, but until then, this will be a spot for everybody to just kind of work on that. Just like again, I have a game chat just for when I go play games. If people want to suggest games for me, or when I go live, that's where I usually post, stuff like that. So similar for that. If you're interested in watching Kage do his coding and background development, check out the Coding Ninja chat in the Misfit Gamers community. I've also did a little bit of admin cleanup there, so some stuff in the admin chats for cleanup and whatnot.
Oh yes, very nice.
Just a little bit of things here and there. And what else? What else did I do? Oh, I posted some pictures. Definitely posted some pictures. So if you guys are part of the Discord, there I do post some pictures every now and again in community chat. But if you are a sub and you get access to the sub only chat, you get more pictures. You get more behind the scenes information.
Interesting. Yep, I love it. I love it.
So I have some pictures of this selection of whiskey that I will be doing during my
very nice.
hosting.
Just take a look at that.
Yeah, this Saturday I'm hosting a New Year's Eve party, and I will be doing, as the host, I will be doing a whiskey tasting. So I have 6 whiskeys, technically 7 if we open the other bottle, the Sexton and single malt. But if we do that, we will have a tasting of 6 different whiskeys.
Very cool.
And I feel like it's a good, it's a good mix. It's 2 Americans, 1 wheat, 1 malt. Then we also have a bourbon and a rye, and then we have a Scottish single malt and a Japanese single malt.
That one I'm very much looking forward to.
So I'm hoping that'll be a nice a nice journey through the differences of what whiskey can be. And I really wanted to go with, you know, like the 4 mainstays, like, you know, the 4 types that you're more common gonna run into. But because whiskey is an international thing, it's not something that's specific here. Like bourbon is. Bourbon is very specific to usually either location and type of distilling process, whereas whiskey has a much more broad process. It can be made almost anywhere, right? Scotch has its own variations, bourbon has its own variations. So I kind of wanted to see if I could encapsulate all of that in a tasting.
Like that. I liked it a lot.
Plus, you know, that was an excuse for me to get 6 new bottles to the bar.
Heck yes. Listen, we gotta add to the collection.
I do like being able to have an excuse to add to Misfit Gamers Tavern. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, that bar's looking sick right now.
I'm trying. What else happened? Yeah, exactly. You'll blow up overnight if it's gonna happen. It'll just happen.
It'll just be random.
Let's see.
I'm gonna be right back.
Once he gets back, we will begin. I don't think there are any other updates. I think that was it. We're just gonna try to be back on our normal schedule now. So unless we go out of town, I don't foresee us not streaming anytime soon. So we are back to starting today. We're back to our normal Monday, Friday. I have some new history ofs that we're going to be doing, as mentioned before. I am considering doing an additional stream every single month, and I need to put a poll in Discord to figure out what y'all want, because I either want to do another D&D stream or a bartending stream, because I have the tavern and I'll have some other stuff, and I'll finally have like a better influx of alcohol, so we can do, you know, tastings and cocktails. So, and yeah, because until Kage and I can add a stream together, we'll probably only stick to the one review a week. But I want to add in at least 1 more, if not 2 more. Like every other week, I'd like to do like, you know, a midweek stream. But I need to know what to do. I don't know if it should be like a bartending stream. I don't know if it should be D&D focused like we currently do. But I need to start expanding out and doing more types of series, testing them out, and figuring out what we can do. Because I do love the community streams. That will be coming back as well. Starting January, we will get the community streams back up and running.
We gotta get that paid for.
Yeah, because I do appreciate the you guys want another pop culture build. We will probably do that on the next community stream if y'all want it.
Very cool.
Because I do like the community streams. You know, it's not so much that like the community streams aren't going to happen. Like I do like the fact that we're just adding that almost guaranteed. But you know, just the whole point of the community actually earning it is also part of you earn it, and then that makes you feel more likely to want to vote when the polls go out in Discord, right?
Participate and show up.
And that's kind of the thing. You know, if we just guaranteed that we were going to do it, people are just going to show up. But having that part of, I put points into that, so yes, I want to have a part in what you guys do. Yeah. And I do like having an episode where I don't really know what we're going to do. I like the episode of like, here's what we can do. You choose.
Let's pull it out.
I do really like doing more of that, but I do want to add another, at least, solo stream once a month just to expand the series, try to figure out more of what we can do. Twice a week is great, but I feel like we can do more.
Okay.
I don't want to do a whole extra day a week. That would be, I'm already
Right.
going thin on energy, but 1 or 2 extra a month, I think would be really fun. Like during midweek, and then we can do our community stream on the weekends.
On the weekends, yeah.
Yeah. So I need to figure out exactly what would be, but I don't want to just, it's either going to be experimental where I'm just going to do it in the midweek and I'm just going to be experimental with it, or it's going to be something that the community wants to see regularly. Because you know what I mean? Like, I don't just want to randomly pop in and just, be a dud episode every single week when I'm experimenting and say, oh, that experiment failed, right?
Right.
I'd rather it be something that the community wants to see. Like if I just do a bartending stream where we're making cocktails or, discussing, if it doesn't have to necessarily be D&D themed. I prefer it to be D&D themed,
Sure.
or even
Most
game
definitely.
themed, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I start doing one where you know what? I have enough board games. Maybe I really should start expanding Misfit Gamer Studios next year and actually doing board game reviews, like actually busting into board game, playing a board game, once a month with Vixie, where we bust out one of our board games, read through the rules, play a couple games, and give our review on it.
That would be kind of fun. That'd be a lot of fun.
Because the whole reason why it's Misfit Gamer Studios is because it's supposed to be more than D&D, right? D&D is just D&D discussions.
Encapsulates a lot,
right? So it's like, that's the whole point, is like D&D discussions, this twice a week was only ever supposed to be the podcast.
Sure.
But Misfit Gamer Studios was always supposed to like encompass more. So maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe I will start adding in a once a month board game review, and that will incentivize me over the next year to get back into collecting board games. I mean, I probably have enough to go 2 years, but if I'm only doing it once a month, but it will incentivize me to get new ones and try new ones. Cause I don't want to review, Yahtzee. I don't want to review Sorry. I don't want to review Clue. Like, come on now. I want to review games that, like, I want to review Suro. That's a game that I'm sure a lot of people know, but that's not as immediately iconic and recognizable as Clue.
Yeah.
Right. As like there's some games where it's just like, don't bother. But then there are some games where it's like, it's popular or well known enough, but it's still cool to see.
Yeah.
Right.
And there will be enough people who probably haven't seen it that they would really get from this first time experience, potentially just getting introduced to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I like that. Did you post that cocktail in the Discord, Soul? If you did, I didn't see it. And if you do, maybe I will try that. I don't know about tonight, but maybe I'll try it on Friday on stream if I don't try it earlier in the week.
Okay.
18 ounces of Dragonfire crushed grape sparkling wine with basically an Everclear topper. I'm not a huge fan of Everclear.
Interesting.
So
Everclear and me, we have a very
so basically it's
relationship.
so basically it's basically vodka and champagne.
Okay.
Like boil it down to what it really is. It's vodka and champagne. It's 18 ounces. So basically it's an entire glass of champagne with a vodka float. Well, a double, because it's 2 ounces. So it's a double vodka float on champagne.
Is that what Everclear is considered vodka?
I'm pretty sure.
Tastes like rubbing alcohol.
Wow.
Wow.
I don't have any champagne, but I will on New Year's Eve party. So maybe I will try that this weekend.
Okay.
When we have our New Year's Eve party. Maybe I will try that. But it doesn't sound appealing.
Interesting.
That kind of belongs with the Trask. Just saying.
I mean, you never know.
All right. Well, are we ready to get
We are ready.
this second to last review of the year on?
You're very ready.
Yeah, that doesn't sound great. I don't like the Bard's Magical Secrets. The name doesn't match the ingredients. I'm just saying, Bard's Magical Secrets doesn't match champagne and vodka.
I mean, I guess I could see bards really going for like champagne, extra fancy, like all this extra stuff.
But they want to get boozy quick, so they're just like, look, can you
you
throw
just
some,
top it off with some of the strongest stuff you got.
right? I mean, I could get that where they're always like schmoozing it up, and they always have the high hoity-toity champagne, but they're like, look, bartender, can you just do me a solid here. I need a lot more than this.
This
And
is
then
how
they
I
just
calm my nerves. That's my secret. Is
I could see
take
it
one of
be
these
I could see
things.
that being like a character point, but I don't know about the name. I don't know.
I feel like it should have the bard that created it. It's his secret. So like Tasha's secret or something like that.
Right. It could be that. Yeah, it would be a better named drink. Or since you have Everclear and it's sparkling wine, so you can call it like the Ever Sparkle. Or
Ever
you know,
Bright.
or something like, you know what I mean, like a sparkling vodka.
I like that. Because I like kind of like Everbright.
I mean, if it's supposed to be Everclear, like the strongest vodka you can find, if it's supposed to be like, if it's supposed to be super strong, you could also call it, like, you know, because it's wine, you can call it, you know, instead of wine and dine, you can call it the wine and done.
Okay. Okay.
Because it's like a one and done.
I
You
like
just
that.
2 ounces of Everclear with 18 ounces of champagne. It's a one and done. So it's the wine and done.
That's funny.
Yeah, but I agree with you. If the bard has a name that created it, just name it his secret instead of a bard's secret, right? Like
Right.
I would say it would just be his like his social secret or something like that. Like
Right.
I like that.
Liam's secret.
All right, so let's get into this.
Let's do this dance.
Welcome to the second to last homebrew review of the year. Today we have a fighter subclass, a fighter archetype called Way of the Wyrd Armory by Soul Collective Guild. Soul, am I saying that correctly? Is that Wyrd Armory or Ward Armory, just spelled a little bit differently? Because I'm really curious, because I mean, if it's Wyrd or Weird Armory, then I'm thinking worm, as in dragon-esque, like dragon-ish. And then
Yes.
I'm thinking, so now I'm thinking like dragon scales. I'm thinking like,
That
you know,
is
dragon
what I initially
lineage.
thought when I read this.
But when I see it, my brain sees weird, like as in worm, but I want to read it as Ward Armory, as in magical. But I don't know why
saying it right.
I don't know, which one am I saying right?
The one you originally thought.
Word.
Yes.
Ward.
Ward.
Oh, it is Ward. Okay, so it is Ward Armory. Okay, that's what I was really hoping for, because one based on worms would be a little bit interesting. Although I do find that very fascinating. I think the Ward Armory has a much better ideology behind it, because for a fighter, it does give me the idea that there's going to be some magic behind it, a little bit defensive,
Yeah.
a little bit imbuement, and I'm really hoping for that. You know, so many fighters get a lot of martial extras, but I really feel like with subclasses in 5th edition, I feel like the idea of giving fighters like a little bit of a magical touch with their subclass is kind of a missing component, when more often than not you have to multi-class to give them any kind of magical component.
There is one other one that I know that you get like actual spells, and you're like actual like a partial cast.
Because I know it happens with like rangers and with rogues a lot. They get like, you know, subclasses that do that, but fighter feels like you have to always subclass in order to get any kind of magical touch. So Ward Armory gives me hope that this is going to give us a magical type of fighter subclass.
Interesting. Okay, I'm
I'm
here
hopeful.
for it.
But what was, so there's one that gives you like straight out spells?
Yes, like I think it's either a half or a quarter caster.
Makes sense for quartercaster.
Eldritch Knight.
Oh, okay, yeah. That makes makes the most sense.
Literally get like different spells, and you actually have a when you go to the table, you can actually see like all your spells. You get up to 4th level spells, so they look like they're a quarter caster, and your spells obviously increase with your level, and you don't get 4th level spells until like level 18. So you're not like it's not mostly about your casting, you know, but you definitely, I'm curious what spell list they have access to.
Interesting. I'm suddenly now thinking of like different fighter subclasses that I want to see, and I'm thinking like just going off of the name of this one, I just have one suddenly in my head called like the Ward of Light, and I'm thinking like one of its abilities, right? Like not like so much a magic user as in they have a lot of conscious use of it, but more like reactive.
Right.
So I'm thinking, imagine like a fighter subclass called the Ward of Light, where because you know, if they hit your AC, defense still wins. When like, you know, like if your AC, if they hit it, that you know, you have to like beat their AC.
Right.
So imagine like having an ability for the subclass at a certain level, like level 3, level 5, where when being the target of a melee attack, if your AC is matched, if the attack matches your AC, and you like have a reaction or just like, X number per day, essentially what ends up happening is when they come down to hit you, a bright shield of light flashes when you block.
Oh.
And it blinds them for the next round, or like until the start of their next turn.
I feel like,
or gives them like the blinded condition or something like that.
I feel like there might be a cleric subclass that does something like that.
But I'm thinking of like, that's the kind of stuff I would want to see in like a fighter subclass where it's like you're just fighting, but again, not something consciously that you have to activate, but if they just happen to hit,
it's kind of a passive thing that just happens.
Or imagine like it triggers if they hit your AC, or if they hit +1 or -1 of your AC. So it's like, so even
if they miss, it'll still happen to them.
So if it hits your AC, which they would miss, if it's just under your AC by 1, or if it's just over your AC by 1. So it kind of gives you like almost like a +1 AC, but like just the idea that it would still hit you, but it still goes off, and they still get that condition. Something like that. I kind of want to work on that.
I kind of like that, because theoretically it could happen on like the first time they, like, say they have multi-attack and it happens on the first time they attack you, then they're blinded until like the start of your next turn or whatever.
So the next attack, immediate disadvantage.
Exactly. And
that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, even though they're kind of like right there in front of them, but still, like, it's a lot harder to see, like, when you don't know where they're blocking, you don't know how they're moving, like all of that stuff. So
yeah,
okay, I'm here for that.
So yeah, just the thing, like what you were talking about with Eldritch Knight, and then just reading the Wyrd Armory. I'm just like, that's a cool little like ability where I can imagine cinematically you're just trading blows, and then you block with your sword, and just pow, burst of light, because like you're protected by like a shield of light, and then you just keep on attacking. And then you can do the same thing where whenever you crit, so whenever you roll an @20, when you do a melee attack, any enemy within 10 feet becomes blinded by the shock of light that is like when you hit. So no extra damage, but it's just an area of effect. If you crit on someone, any enemy within 10 feet is blinded by a shock wave of light.
Right.
Shit like that would be just really cool, because again, it's not really requiring you to do anything. It's just that added benefit of you chose this subclass, so these are things that are just happening in the background.
Right.
I wish more stuff happened like that for builds.
Okay, I'm here for it. I do like that.
All right, so let's see where the Wyrd Armory takes us. So starting with our description. Fighters who follow the way of the Wyrd Armory have mastered the art of conjuring spiritual weapons that are as unpredictable as they are powerful. These warriors draw on otherworldly energies to summon a myriad of spectral armaments, keeping their foes guessing and their allies inspired.
Interesting.
Okay, so this is giving me that it's feeling like we're leaning into the idea that kind of like what we've talked about, how martial characters basically get any weapon. You basically pick up any weapon and you're good with it. So this one's going to lean into that.
Sure.
It's giving me what's the name?
Definitely leaning into the Wyrd Armory. I like that.
Right. Well, and that's why it's giving me what's the name? Gilgamesh vibes.
Oh yeah.
So I'm almost just like the Wyrd Armory. I'm just like, that could have some interesting connotations, especially man, again, if we were to sublet this, like subletting subclasses, can you imagine if the warlock version of this, their patron is Gilgamesh, so all of the other ones were basically fed somehow by Gilgamesh?
Oh,
wow. Like this power is basically like a bleed off, because I love,
very interesting,
especially from like the Fate Zero mindset of Gilgamesh, right? Where he can just like summon a portal and just pull any weapon that he has in his armament. So I'm just kind of like imagining that, but as a fighter. My initial thought though is I like the idea that they can conjure the spiritual weapons, but part of me, when I hear that, while it sounds really interesting, and I know that 5th edition would allow for probably a lot broader aspect, it immediately makes me hope, or at least it immediately makes me think what I would do with this is have some sort of limit and have a progress where maybe it's you can only conjure, like you can only have so many of like equal to your proficiency modifier. So as you get better, the more you could have.
Interesting.
And I would like it to be that it like costs you to like, you actually have to obtain it, right? Like be able to like take a weapon, absorb it, like so you basically destroy the weapon, yeah, you can destroy the weapon and then it becomes a spiritual version of itself.
That's almost how the packed weapons work. Like you can take like a weapon that you found and you can like meld with it or whatever, and it basically like becomes like this ritual you do over, like turns it into your pack weapon, and then you can like disappear it and summon it up.
And that's kind of that's what my mind says I want this to be, is instead of it just being a ability to summon any weapon because you can, I do like the idea, because we've talked about this before, having that relationship with your weapons, right? Choosing them specifically for their purpose and then having that relationship to hold on to them for a reason. So having something built into where it's not just I can conjure any weapon would be nice for the cinematics, the role play, for the character development.
Right.
But with 5th edition, I'm not expecting it because it's not necessary. For 5th edition, mechanic wise, you could just say that you can conjure any weapon at will and it really wouldn't be game breaking.
Sure.
So that's just, as I read this is my first initial thoughts. So as a fighter, I think we don't get multi-attack until what, level 5?
Multi-attack is at level 5, yes.
But you get action surge at level 3.
Action surge is actually, I believe, a level 2 feature.
Oh, level 2.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. Trying to think of like what are the main things that we get from fighter again, and I know we don't really get anything until after level 3.
Yeah, the one thing you do get at level 1 that's pretty good is your second wind, where you can actually heal yourself.
Oh yeah. Always good to know. Always good to remember that you can have that little bit of a buff.
Yeah.
All right. So at level 3, you get your ward weaponry. When you choose this archetype at level 3, you gain the ability to summon spiritual weapons. As a bonus action, you can create a random spiritual weapon which appears in your hand or a location within 5 feet of you. The weapon is spectral and glows with an otherworldly light. Roll a d6 to determine the type of weapon. So you don't get to choose the type of weapon. You just get to.
Interesting.
So it's almost similar to Spirit Weapon, the spell.
It's kind of given me. Do you remember Kite from Hunter x Hunter? He's got this weird weapon and he rolls for it every time he's about to get into a fight, and it turns into like something unique. And he's got to just fight with that unique weapon and figure out how to make it work in that situation.
Okay.
It kind of gives me those vibes, but okay.
So this one gives us, so from the 1d6, from 1 through 6, you get a spectral sword, which is 1d8 damage. A phantasmal spear, so 1d8 piercing, so 1d8 slashing or 1d8 piercing. Ghostly axe for 1d10 slashing. Ethereal hammer for 1d10 bludgeoning. A wraith bow for 1d6 piercing. Or a shimmering shield for +2 AC bonus.
Okay.
The weapon lasts for 1 minute or until you dismiss it as a bonus action. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. You regain all its uses when you finish a long rest. So it only says that it can appear within 5 feet, so it doesn't act like Spirit Weapon. It doesn't float there, it doesn't attack for you. It just appears somewhere within 5 feet.
This is meant to be something that the player uses, kind of like the Warlock. So it's like, I summon it, but I'm summoning it so I can use it. So I can.
But if it's like, if for whatever reason you want it to, be on the other side, or like, again, for cinematic purposes, I can see within 5 feet of you. But it's not like Spirit Weapon where it just sits there and follows you. It's just going to be. So I kind of like that. I do like that. One thing I wouldn't mind, and this is a throwback to old school D&D, definitely more of a excuse me, holdover from like 2nd edition.
Right. But
what I would add in just for the cinematic is the weapon is spectral, and like I think of spectral as kind of like ghostly, translucent. So I would say that the weapon is spectral and translucent until you hold it. Basically, I personally I would love the idea that I could like, because again, imagine you're sit there in the in a diplomatic way and you just make it appear like just on the table near you, like you want to make a weapon appear, but you don't want to grab it just yet. So I like the idea of you just being able to do that. And if no one's paying attention and no one's looking at the table and seeing the wisps, they wouldn't see anything until you grab it and then it becomes glowing.
Interesting.
So just purely for the ideology of old school roleplay, I would love this to say that the weapon is spectral and translucent until it is possessed by I forget, I'm losing the way to word that, but basically until you touch it, it would basically, it just comes off as not necessarily invisible, but just like not everyone will immediately realize that you've summoned it.
Like there's like kind of similar to certain spells where if no one's paying attention when you cast it, they have to make like a certain perception or investigation check to like recognize it's there, almost like a a disguise spell.
I mean, imagine being able to like make it appear above you. So like it's cinematically, you just make it appear like 5 feet above like the person you're talking to. So you just walk up to them, reach up, and then grab it and then like slam it down on them. So you know you don't have any weapons, so you're just raising your arm like blah blah blah, grab, and then like
that would
I'm
be
just
very
thinking
that
there
could be kind of cool.
And that's why I'm thinking I would love the idea that the moment you make it appear, because I'm just thinking like you're at a table, right? Like you're talking to somebody and you need to close distance. You've been frisked, you don't have any weapons. And so I'm just sitting here and I'm like, I just need to talk to you, I need to get close to you. So right on that table next to you, I make my dagger appear, a spectral dagger. And then I can just walk up to you and just be like, look, slide my hand down on the table, be like, too late. You know what I mean? Like of course I'm playing the bad player here,
sure.
But
still,
these are the things that I'm thinking of. So I would love this to just have the idea that when you make it appear, it's a perception check to see it, or you have to basically see that you did something, but just for the flavor of until I touch it, it's not glowing. That's the only thing I want to change is it's just there and I know it's there. And unless you're looking for it,
right,
it just no one really knows. Because like the cinematic of that too. I like that. Like just picking that up off the table. Can you imagine just reaching over, touching a table that's like empty to everybody, and then you just grab and just suddenly a shining axe just appears off the table? Like that would be a good intimidation check right there. Be like, roll for intimidation, see if you get this like a surprise round, because no one like expected you to pull a giant battle axe from a table.
Sweet.
So I do like the bonus action. The 1 minute feels pretty good.
Yeah, again, I'd say it's fairly standard, but the only thing I would say is I'd like to feel freer to like use this more often. Like I'd like to have it something where like it's active for a minute, right?
Yeah, but
I'd like to be able to switch between weapons in that minute.
But well, it says you can dismiss it as a bonus action,
but then I have to summon it again and use another use of it.
So yeah, so it's unlimited in the terms of you could redo that, but you're just saying that. So I would say I do agree with you. But
well, still only as many times as your proficiency bonus.
You can use this feature a number of times. Okay, gotcha. So would you like unlimited changes while it's active, like for the 1 minute?
Not unlimited, no. Like maybe equal to a modifier of some sort, like I don't know, whatever this,
like intelligence or something like
something like that, something that this
do you think it should automatically happen, or would you want to see that at like level 5, 6, 7, like earn that? Like at first you only get one at a time and then you can earn the ability to shift it midway.
I do think you should get it now, mostly because if I'm going to try, and again, this is what I would consider our staple feature, right? This is what I'm going to think we're going to be using for the majority of the time that we're here. I want to learn how to like wisely use it. I'd love it to increase over time for sure,
right.
But like for now, like when you're starting off, like I would love at least 2 or 3 switches,
because I feel like I would totally understand that, like it's by minimum level 5 if you're going to get it. Like I wouldn't want to wait any longer than that.
Because if I get the shield, then I'm just stuck with the shield.
And that's why I totally agree with you. Like I love the idea that if you get the shield, you can burn it. So maybe it's you start with 1 just for that off chance that you get a weapon or the shield that's not. Like maybe right now it's a flying enemy and the axe is just shitty. Maybe you needed that spear or sword.
Sure.
And or again, you needed a weapon and you got the shield. So totally agreeing that at bare minimum start with 1, just because I kind of like the idea of even cinematically you could say that the 1 is because you're not quite in control of it.
Sure.
So it's like, okay, let's go guys. Rah, attack, shield, fuck. Sword, yeah, let's go. You know what I mean? Like you almost fucked it up. You're like, oh nope, that's not what I want.
Right.
So I do agree with you there. I think at bare, I wouldn't mind a one-off, and then it grows from there. Like then you get more later. But I do agree, at least giving the 1 chance, because pulling one of these out at random, while it's a cool ability, if this is our cornerstone, having absolutely no control over it does kind of feel like, why am I specializing in something I don't have that much control over?
Sure.
So I would agree with you. At bare minimum, I'm okay with at least a one-off right now.
Yeah,
and then maybe giving it equal to your like at level 5. You can change it as many times equal to your wisdom or intelligence modifier.
Sure.
I want them to have more of it, but I just feel like, again, I'm that old school mentality. I want you to work with it at a bare minimum first, get used
And I
to
get
struggling with it, and then
Yeah.
we'll give you more. But I also get that's not how 5th edition works. So I do agree that's where my middle ground would be, at least one. But honestly, it's easier mechanic wise, let's face it, especially for 5th edition. It would be 10 times easier just to give them intelligence modifier out the gate. Because to only give them one and then give them intelligence modifier
Right.
is clunky. And I know that's not what 5th edition likes to do.
Yeah.
So with 5th edition in mind, you're probably correct. It probably should just start out with equal to your intelligence modifier. Because then at that point, you can just burn and turn in that 1 minute as many times as
You
that.
do get this at level 3, so what if you said half your level rounded down?
So at level 10, you'd get 5. At level 20, you'd get 10 changes in a minute. And you wouldn't even change it that often in a minute. Unless you're unless you're like, I attack
Unless you really, yeah.
I mean, you could just be like, I'm going to shoot my bow, and then I'm going to change it into a spear, and then I'm going to range attack that guy, and then I'm going to change it into a sword, and then I'm going to change hit, because you have multiple attack. And if you could, can you imagine how cool would that look cinematically, where you're just like, like you just change your weapon every attack for like 3-4 more. Okay, I don't mind that. That wouldn't be, so half your level rounded down.
Yeah.
You'd start at 1, and then immediately next level, you'd have 2.
Sure.
You'd immediately start getting more.
Yeah. And it feels like you're being able to
and
do
that's
more
such
of
a
what you do.
rarely used feature or
Yeah.
calculation. Using your level or half level is not as much used in 5th edition, so I like that a little bit more.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
I think the only people I can think
I
of
would
that
be
use it
totally
is
fine with
Druid.
that. I would be absolutely fine with that, because I do agree this early on, having no control, it's a cool feature, but it feels more like a spell. It feels more like a scroll I would come behind, like, oh, this would be a cool scroll to use. But as a mainstay feature, never knowing what I'm going to grab and not having the ability to just, oh, that's not what I wanted.
Yeah.
And at least having a second chance, kind of like what you said, player agency. You've talked about this a lot, where if you kind of give them something that may be a benefit, but you lock them away from the maybe.
Yeah.
Like this, like you might benefit, you might need that spear, but if you get the shield, fuck it. Oh well.
And see,
It's like you're locked immediately away from that. At least giving them the second chance. It's like, hey man, you tried.
That
You had
is
2 chances.
something I might like later is giving them like one of the switches throughout your minute. You get to choose what it is. You don't have to roll. Like that would be a cool little upgrade to this possibly later, where it's like
Interesting.
at the very least one.
So I would totally be down for, if we're allowing, during the 1 minute you can switch it. Do you want to use it as a bonus action or freely to switch? Well, if you use it
to do it,
but if you use it,
it's a
only
bonus action to do it.
But I don't know if that counts though, because if this is a fighter, right, and I want to be able to shoot if I have 3 attacks eventually, if I want to be able to shoot my bow, change to a spear, range attack that guy, reach attack that guy, then change to a sword and attack the guy that's melee distance from me, I can't have 3 bonus actions. So I'd almost be okay with saying that
That's
you can
true.
freely do it before an attack.
Yeah.
Like you can freely change it before an attack. That would be kind of cool. Equal to half your level, because then that would allow fighters to really show off. Maybe you can even say that you can't change back to one you've changed from. So you can't go bow, spear, sword, bow.
Interesting.
You can't go bow, spear, bow. So if you change it, you can't go back to the one you've just used that round. So you can even put in limiters like that where you can only change to a different one. You can't go back.
I would say it has to be different.
But I do like the idea of right now you have to roll, but you can change it. I love the idea at level 10.
Sure. Yeah.
Because that's now where you start getting 5 changes in the minute. And I mean, that's about half the rounds. And on top of that, now you get to change. By that point, you've mastered it. So I wouldn't be upset by level 10 being able to be like, oh, now I can just change them all. Because you've gotten used to changing it up in battle.
Yeah.
But now you're like, oh, but now I get to choose. Oh, because now you're used to it. Now you're used to the timing, but now you're like, oh, but now I get to, but now I know exactly when. Oh,
that would be way cool.
That would be, I think level 10 would be good. What's going on, Nugget? Nice to see you. Yeah, so I think that would be my only 2 changes. It's good. I like it. I really do like the summoning. I like the bonus action. I like the selection. I think I would just add in the additional verbiage that it's spectral and translucent until you touch it, and then it becomes glowing. I just like that for roleplay purposes. And I would say, yeah, at least give the option to change it at mere minimum once, but I kind of like Kage's idea better of half your level rounded down. Yeah,
Okay.
as number of times half your level rounded
Yeah.
down. And then at level 10, I would love to see it basically be you can choose what you change it
what you're
to.
switching to.
Oh, and then add the verbiage. When you change it, it must be a new type, not use this round,
Right.
or whatever, right? Or this summon, like in this 1 minute. It has, so if you get the shield first and then you change off the shield, you can't go back to that shield in this minute. You'd have to go to the next time you summon it up. So that way you can't just go back and forth between them, right? So I kind of like that
might
limitation.
like the ability to do that at some point, you know.
Maybe, yeah, okay. I mean,
I don't see that being too crazy. Like, I would definitely say if you're switching it, it has to be something different. It can't literally be what you're holding right now.
yeah. I was just saying, like, you can't go like back where it's like if you again shoot an arrow, then to do a sword, then go back to the arrow. I was trying to say like maybe you shouldn't be able to do that. So it's like you still have the limitations of if you've switched it to one thing, you've basically locked that off until the next time you summon the whole
You've
thing.
limited it up, like,
And that's only for the 1 minute, right? Because then you can just easily take it down, put it back up, and then get access to
the
that
question
weapon
would be,
again.
could you get to a point where you have nothing left?
You don't have whatever it is you're holding.
So it's whatever the last one is.
So if you've shut the bow, use the spear, use the sword, use the axe, use the hammer, and then you change it again and it's still in the 1 minute and you're at the shield, you just can't change it again. You're just stuck with the shield until you either dismantle or
send it away.
Yeah, send it away or the minute ends. But again, that would make it a little bit more tactical on when and what you choose to use.
Interesting.
And again, truthfully, how often will it benefit
Although-
you to change it that often?
I'll say there might be a time where I start like, if I know that I'm never going to be able to use it again, I might try and like hoard it. I'm like, oh, I could use it this time, but what if I need it later and then I won't have it anymore? Or
But it's
whatever.
only for the 1 minute, right? You can always, I mean, it's only going to cost you a bonus action to take it away and put it back.
Yes, but according to this, you just get your proficiency number
Or
of
the number of times in your proficiency. So
Yeah.
there's some limitations there for sure.
which I think is good.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So otherwise, I do like what it's doing. I think just giving it more versatility. I think realistically, what we're saying is that we just don't want the player to feel like they don't want to use it because they get the wrong thing every time they roll.
Right.
So
exactly.
building something in that allows them to feel like they're not locked into something that's not useful. That's really what this is missing.
Very much so.
Outside of that,
That's really it.
Yeah, that's the only thing that we
So
would say
far.
it needs. The other things were more of our preference, but the thing it needs is not making it feel like, oh great, I got the sword. Like how many times do I have to get the shield to just be like, I'm fucking done with this power?
Right.
Like in the middle of a battle and I needed a new weapon. How many times where I'm like, bro, I have a fucking +2 sword. I don't need to summon the sword anymore. I just want to summon the fucking shield. And you never summon the shield. And you're like, I'm a fighter, sword shield fighter, and I never get to summon my sword or my shield. Like, you know what I mean? Like how many times does that happen before the person doesn't want to play the class anymore? Whereas if you just had at least, I mean, I know for me, if I roll the wrong thing and get at least one chance to re-roll or one chance to desummon it and try again, I wouldn't feel as bad if I still didn't get what I wanted.
Yeah.
Because at least I'm like, okay, that's at least 2 out of 6 tries. That feels way better than, oh, you're stuck with it, deal with it. That's your main power, by the way. Just a whole guess. And I know that especially with fighters, you know, especially with the way people build fighters, they want to kind of have a very clean structure of what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Not knowing what weapon you're going to get. But I will say this though, with 2024, this is actually going to be a really, really cool subclass. Because with 2024 edition, all of the special abilities these weapons give now, like I forget what they are, but like the axe has the cleave, right?
I think so. Yeah.
So like in 2024 edition, if you use this subclass, if you get the ghostly axe, 2024 gives you the cleave where if you kill an enemy, any excess damage will automatically apply to the nearby enemy, right?
I know that the hammer one is really cool. You actually get to shove targets.
Yes, you'll get to move targets.
Yep.
I'm assuming that the spear has reach.
I believe so.
The spear gets reach. The sword, I think, has a specialty now. I think if you use a sword, you get like a specialty like ability.
There's something. I don't know what it is.
But that's going to be really, really nice for all of the 2024 options. This is really going to expand what this class will be able to do.
Very much so. I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah. Okay. So give them a little bit more of a feel, and I think that this will be better. All right. So what are we gonna get from 3 to 7? Like that's mainstay to 5.
All right, from level 3 to 7, where are we at? So at level 4, you're gonna get your ability score improvement. Level 5, you're gonna get your staple of your extra attack because you got to be able to hit more. Level 6, you're gonna get ability score improvements, and level 7, you will get another archetype feature.
So I'm looking at this, and I'm trying to think. I'm definitely thinking that this is going to lean heavily on getting feats, because right now, before we even get into level 7, right? Like that's 2 ASIs we would have gotten by now.
Yep.
But even if we say we fixed it to the point where you don't feel like you're locked into something, really this is just handling your need of a weapon. That's really all you've done so far. Like it hasn't really defined us any other way than I have an arsenal of weapons at my disposal that I can't really have control over. So it makes me think that I'm most likely going to be enticed, or at least incentivized, to lean in on these feats. So what are the 2 best feats at this point do we think would encompass this? Because really because I'm thinking of like, in order to really specialize, right? We talk about like subclasses are all about specialization and becoming focused on what you can do. What do you think are some feats that would highlight this multi weapon ability?
So there is, I don't know what kind of axe that is. It's a D10, so I'm assuming it's a battle axe,
right?
Which I don't think counts as a great weapon. I was going to say great weapon master, because great weapon master basically allows you to reroll 1s and 2s on your damage rolls, which is kind of nice. Making sure you always are doing more damage.
That's not terrible.
I will say getting the archery feat is going to be very good when you finally use the bow, because you get to take a negative like something to your, I think it's a -5 to your roll.
What's going on, Hecate?
But then when you do that, you automatically get a +10 to your damage. So you're doing like big damage, and it reduces the negative effect of shooting at long range. So that
that would be huge. Okay, so that would definitely be huge for this if you're gonna be able to get the bow.
For sure.
Soul recommends that we keep on reading. I thought we were going to stop here, actually. I thought we had done enough. I wasn't planning on reading further, but I guess we should probably continue reading.
No, yeah.
So I like that. I like an archery one. Is Sentinel worth it because you have the spear?
Sentinel is always good, but that is really going to depend on how tanky your build is, because Sentinel keeps enemies by you.
That's true.
Right.
That's true.
So unless I'm going to be wanting all the aggro and wanting to keep everyone right next to me, like I can see that for like a paladin, a barbarian, even a monk maybe, because they want to do a lot of stuff and they can always use dodge as a bonus action. I'd say I do like Sentinel a lot. I think it could definitely be done well, especially if you do have a shield. But
anything that can give you like
a shield master
advantage on attacks too, like thinking like because blind fighting, does blind fighting only work for unarmed attacks?
No, blind fighting is just basically you basically get not tremor sense, but basically blind sight for up to 10 feet. And that's
not super helpful.
And so also you at level 1 you get a fighting style, so you'll get to basically like choose that would be a really good feat. I feel like there's a one called Fighting Initiate.
Yes,
and basically
I don't know what it does, but I've heard of that one.
I think what it does is it allows you to take an additional fighting style, and I think you can take it as many times as you want. Martial archetype, help you develop. As a result, you learn one fighting style option of your choice from the fighter. If you already have the one you choose must be different, so you just have to choose a different.
So you just can. Okay, so that could be good. So the archery one, I agree with. A new like adding new fighting styles, because that would be 2 new fighting styles, and that could be super beneficial.
Yeah.
With something like this, because Again, this is basically, I guess also anything that would help your AC, because other than the shield, you're probably going to want anything that might, boost your armor, boost your speed even, because you now have some different weapons.
There's medium armor master, so if you're wearing medium armor, normally you can only add maximum of 2 of your dexterity. Medium armor master allows you to add 3, up to 3.
That's more damage output.
It will give you an increased armor class by 1.
Armor class.
Yeah,
okay.
It'll increase your armor class by 1 while wearing medium armor. And then there is something called Shield Master. I think it allows you to attack with your shield, right? So, because traditionally there's no attack with your shield, but this would allow you to, like, after you've used the attack action, you can use your bonus action to do like a shield bash, basically. And I think it just counts as like a shove attack for 5 feet, but it's not using either of your attack actions, which is nice. It says if you're incapacitated, you add your shield's AC to any dexterity saving throws. That's kind of cool.
Okay. So I feel like depending upon, like you said, I think it depends on how tanky you want to be, whether you want to be speedy.
Yeah.
Do you want to lean into the different weapons? So I would say that as of right now, up until level 7, I'm feeling like this is really going to lean in on those beats, because up until then, I mean, it's nice not to have to worry about what weapon you're having, but this technically, because it's a bonus action and it's for a minute, technically you always have a weapon. Like you technically don't have to worry about a weapon with this feat, which is kind of nice. But beyond that, I feel like it's going to be a long wait to really feel like you've specialized beyond just having a weapon for the moment. Like, having a weapon that works for the moment.
Right.
So that's kind of what I'm thinking of so far until we get to level 7. So now we have Unpredictable Assault. So starting at level 7, your connection to the spiritual realm allows you to enhance your attacks with chaotic energy. When you hit a creature with a spiritual weapon, you can choose to roll a d6. On a result of 4 or 6, the attack deals an additional 1d8 damage of random damage type. Roll a d8. Okay, and then we have damage types are fire, cold, lightning, acids, poison, psychic, radiant, necrotic. So, couple things. One, I'm not sure why it would be a choice, because there's no downside.
So
it says when you hit a creature with a spiritual weapon, you can choose to roll a d6. And then on a result, the attack deals an additional. So maybe if the attack would somehow heal it,
if you have limited uses of it, that would make sense.
But it doesn't say that. It just says when you hit a creature, you can choose to do this, and then it just happens. So I'm just curious why doesn't, like, if there's no downside and there's no limit.
I feel like it should say once per turn.
Once per turn.
I feel like it should, just in general, especially like doing extra damage on every single attack you do is gonna be wild.
And that's what I'm thinking. And then so it's like I'm just trying to understand like why. Yeah. So I'm just trying to understand the language. So I don't know if I would say you can choose. I would just say once per turn when you hit a creature. If it just said once per turn, then bam, it's whatever one you wanted on that turn.
Exactly.
Would do
That's
the damage.
where your choose can come in.
And for a fighter, it matters which one you do.
Sure.
So I totally understand that. And I guess it's when you hit. So the idea is, again, it only triggers when you hit someone.
Yes.
But so I would just change that, once per turn, or just set some sort of number. So that's why you're choosing it.
Right.
Otherwise, just, let it happen. I wouldn't even mind putting verbiage in there that says this automatically happens on a crit.
That would be cool.
Just should just automatically happen if you crit.
That would be cool. Would you say it doubles if you crit?
Either that, or when you crit, all damage is turned into the type. So you add the 1d8 plus all of your crit damage turns into that type.
That would be cool.
So instead of it, because this is just the 1d8 is that damage. So if you're doing 2d12 plus the 1d8, but it's a crit, all your 2d12 would be the same damage.
Right.
That would be kind of cool.
Interesting.
But other than that, so other than the once per turn option, we can roll a d8 and on a 4 or a 6 or a d6. Oh wait, no.
Oh, so it sounds like when you choose to do this, you roll a d6 first. If you get a 4 or a 6, you get extra damage. If you don't get a 4 or a 6, 4 through 6, then you don't get extra damage.
Oh, okay. So you can choose to roll d6 on a result of a 4 or 6. The attack. Okay, so got you. Now I understand. So it's a 2 out of 6 chance to do extra damage, and then you roll the d8 to figure out what type it is.
I would still stick with once it procs. Like if you try it and it doesn't work, you can try it again. But once it procs, it can only proc once per turn.
Okay, I'm gonna step out to use the restroom real quick because I have something else I want to talk about. But
Okay.
I'll let you. Yeah. So for level 7, it feels very complicated.
I see what you're saying. Although at the same time, I do see where you were going with that, Soul. It feels very reminiscent of how certain like monster manual creatures have, like giant spiders, for instance. They have the ability to use their web feature. Now, the way that works is when they get it back on a 5 or a 6. But when I like the idea of it proccing on a 5 or a 6. Now, again, I don't think, because it's just the more rolls you do, like the more rolls you have to remember to do, and you know, I get that it's kind of trying to be a little bit chaotic, so to speak, a little bit random, and I'm fine with that. But I will say the more rolls you have to do, it's just more stuff for the player and the DM to inevitably remember. So
Yeah.
As much as you can simplify it, I wouldn't be opposed to that. But
My two things outside of the writing issue of when to do it is I understand the chaotic side, but I was immediately also struck with, wow, I had access to suddenly spawn weapons, and now I have access to all types of magic damage. It's like it's a leap, right? It's going from one thing to the next, which is very hard for me. Is like I can just, these spectral weapons now have access to all these damage types. It just doesn't feel like there's a cohesion here. But going back to my idea of like Gilgamesh, right? Having an invisible armory that I'm just randomly pulling from. How I would like to see this change so you could still justify it is you're pulling from this spiritual armory, right? And you're usually just pulling mundane weapons,
Sure.
right? So what I would like to say is starting at 7th level, when you activate ward weaponry. So the first time, not the first time, but just whenever you activate it for the minute, you roll the 1 through 4. If on a 4 or 6, if you roll a 4 or 6, for that 1 minute, you then roll a d8, and all of your weapons that you pull for that 1 minute, you're
have
pulling
that one type.
Because that way it's kind of like, again, you're pulling from this magical armory and you just happen to be like, oh, I got lightning weapon today. And you're just happening to pull from the lightning section of that. That would be the better way I think you would do it is anytime you proc it, you can choose, you know what, when I'm pulling my weapon, I'm going to roll a d6. Oh, I got a 4, roll a d8. All right, I'm pulling fire weapons right now. And those weapons just do that damage. Forget the extra damage. Or you could just say they all do that damage plus a 1d, whatever you wanted to do. But I don't mind the proc. I kind of like the idea of proccing it, but on hits complicates combat, especially in the midst of it.
Sure.
If you're just pulling your weapon out of nowhere and you're just from the get-go, boom, hey, we all know for the next minute I got fire damage. So much easier, so much cleaner. And the lore-wise of, again, you're pulling into a magical armory that you really can't see. You just know what kind of weapon you want.
Right.
So the idea that you could get into, again, thinking about Gilgamesh, he just has different sections. The fact that you just accidentally poured into the wrong section and got a magical weapon, I think that would be kind of cool.
Interesting.
It would also help me feel better about all the damage types, because there's a lot of damage types.
Yeah.
But what I wouldn't mind is shortening this. Shorten it to 6. Choose, say, the basic ones. Say fire, cold, lightning, and I would say not acid,
thunder.
not poison. I was thinking like I don't mind radiant or necrotic,
Okay.
but the 6th one should just be like a magical +1. So starting at 7th level, basically whenever you pull these, you roll a d6, and one of these things can happen if you so choose. You can get up to all your weapons are just now act as a +1 magical weapon, or they all deal a certain type of damage. Something like that, I think, feels more in tune with the lore of I'm just pulling a random weapon and it happens to be imbued with something.
Right.
Than the fact that every single time I've pulled a weapon, it has this potential energy to do an element of damage.
Explode into a random element. Yeah,
And that's my only thing. Is I don't really.
I do get that. I like the fact that you would only roll it at the beginning to decide what the element type is, but I kind of like how it's set up that you get it as extra damage and you get it as now I'm kind of okay with having like all the damage look like that, but I would kind of like that to be once per turn. So like the way I kind of feel at 7th level, you've amassed, you're almost 10th level, you probably got to have some sort of like magic. I am okay with at this level it just saying your weapons count as magical for the purpose.
I'm totally fine
like,
with
just
that.
Put that in there as like a standard.
I'm totally fine with
and
that.
And then say once per turn, it could get the damage type that you rolled at the beginning when you launched this. Like that's kind of what I'm thinking.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I feel like it's a little complicated that when you hit it, then I can roll, and then I can roll, and then I can add damage. So that's 3 rolls. That's literally if I hit them. So I rolled the hit, and then I hit him.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do my normal damage.
Yep.
Or so that's 2 rolls minimum, and then I'm going to roll to see if I can do it. Roll to see what type, and then I'm gonna roll extra damage. That's 3 extra rolls, and there's no written limit.
Yes.
So it could get complicated. Again, I think lore-wise, it would tie in better that when you've summoned it, when you started that 1 minute, I don't mind you getting the 1d6 roll.
Right.
And then maybe after that, so maybe it's, okay, so when I summon my weapons, I get 1d6. If I roll a 4 or a 6, then maybe the next time I hit a creature, I roll the 1d8.
Okay.
So it's kind of just one of those, when you proc it, anytime I hit the, so it's like roll the 1d4 when you first pull the weapons, and then at any point in the next minute a hit can turn into a 1d8. You can just choose to do it, and you roll a 1d8 and get a magical effect out of it.
Interesting.
So that would be actually, maybe that would be the easiest way to do it. So so this could say that starting at 7th level, whenever you activate ward weaponry, roll a d6. On a roll of a 4 or 6, you may add 1d8 of a random damage type, rolling a 1d8, to any successful attack for the next 1 minute. So basically, it's just your choice. As long as this ward is up, the ward weapon lasts for a minute. At any point when you hit someone, you can be like, I'm adding the 1d8 of lightning damage. So it's just kind of at any point you've already know that you can activate it, then you get to choose, and then again, it just activates that one time.
Why wouldn't you activate it every single time you hit?
No. So I rolled the 1d6 at the very beginning, right when I first activate my ward weapon A.
Sure.
And I get the 4 or 6. So anytime in the next minute, I get 1d8.
Oh, 1.
I just at any point I will add 1d8, and when I roll it, I roll a d8 to figure out what damage as well. So I will, okay, it's going to be lightning damage, and then I roll the d8 7 lightning damage on top of that, and it's just a one time. So something like that, right, could be a little bit easier, because then you roll at the beginning so you know you get it, and then you decide when it procs.
Interesting.
That I think would make it cleaner, because you already know you have it for the next minute, and it's your decision when to have it.
But I still, it sucks that it's only once for an entire minute.
That one could be equal to your intelligence modifier.
Sure.
So if you hit the 4 or 6, you get up to 3 of those
3 uses of
for the next bit. I don't mind something like that. That's totally fine with me too. I agree. One sucks. I'm just trying to think of what's a better way to say, because I think it should be tied into when you activate it. That sounds better to me. How many times is open for discussion, because I do love the idea of being able to do some extra damage. I just think it makes the most sense that you pulled it from the armory as that, instead of it happens when you hit that.
I do agree. I would probably do it only slightly differently. For me, it would be kind of like, I want to be able to know I turned this on. So for me, it would be something to the effect of like, I activate it at the beginning and I roll the d8. That's the damage type, right? So that's what I get for this minute, right? And you can do this a certain number of times. You can't do it every time.
So the moment you've activated the whole weaponry, the idea is that's the locker you're reaching into. I'm reaching into the electricity locker.
You roll and say which locker you're reaching into.
Okay, cool, but cool.
But you just turn it on. It's not like I have to roll to see if it activates.
No, I got you.
And then whenever, like once per turn, when I hit an attack, I have the option
for the next minute once per turn.
Correct. For the next minute once per turn,
You can you can do the one.
You can proc it.
And it's just a D8 of that damage.
Correct.
I love that. No, that right there is great. Yeah. So it would just basically say that starting at 7th level, your connection to the spirit realm allows you to enhance your attacks with chaotic energy, or maybe not that part, but yeah, basically starting at 7th level, whenever you activate ward weaponry, roll a 1d8 to select a damage type. You can choose. Maybe you don't want to, but you can choose to roll a 1d8 to select a damage type.
Right.
For the next minute, once per turn on a successful hit, you can choose to add a d8 of damage of the selected damage type.
Yes.
Boom, that's all you have.
Yes.
So at that point, at 7th level, I can basically imbue my attacks with one type of energy. That's really what we're saying is, and that's I like that. I like that it's cleaner. You roll for, you don't get to choose the type, but you don't have to roll for it to activate. You just choose, I want it active. You just don't get to choose a type. I like that better than not being able to know if I activated it.
Yeah.
Being able to fail, especially for a subclass feature, being able to not have it. It's almost like saying, hey, fighters, you could have a second attack, but you got to roll for it.
Right.
No fighter would want that. Fighters just want to know they get an extra attack. I think for subclasses, you just want to know I'm going to get this, but not knowing exactly what you're going to get out of it is okay.
Yes, and I totally agree with that. And that's kind of the mindset that I was approaching it with. Is it's like, okay, yeah, you can try to activate it. What happens if like the next 5 times I try it, I don't get the 4 or the 6? And I'm like just pissed off that I haven't been able to use it. I'm like,
same thing with like the shield thing, right?
Yeah.
So I am totally okay with that. I can get behind I can get behind all of the damage types if it's done at the beginning, because I can justify it through the idea of that's how you're it's a spectral armory. You're just going into an armory and randomly pulling weapons.
Yeah.
I can't get behind it activating on a hit because I can't justify the in-game physical mechanics, like the physics of it. How does that spectral weapon suddenly randomly get imbued with that magical power?
Right.
That's what I can't get behind. But if it's already from that part of the armory, I like it. I also like the idea of just taking away the fact that they can't control the activation. Let them activate it whenever they want, but it gives them still that random damage type. That's really cool, because maybe that doesn't help you. Maybe you activate it and you're up against fire elemental and you activate fire. Guess what? It's going to cost you a bonus action to reset. 2 bonus actions. Kill it, reset it, and do it again. That, and again, because you can do it, but you're only ever going to get 1 attack per turn. One of you. So no matter how many, I can have 5 attacks as a fighter, but only one of those
is going to get this fire damage.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely
very
okay
much
with
so.
that.
Very much so.
And if we're gonna do that, I wouldn't mind seeing this increase in damage later, somehow.
Oh yeah.
Because 1d8's not bad, but I would like to see more than 1d8 in the future.
Sure. No, either add another die or increase the size of the die, something like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind adding more die, like at least double. At least getting like a 3d8 eventually.
Yeah.
Like towards like level.
Rogues
18.
get like stupid damage for their sneak attack, so I can't see why you're doing this. Why not?
Yeah. Let's see what's going on in chat. We had a couple things.
This is my first test.
So this was boredom inspired, by the way.
Okay. Very nice. Just something to do.
Let's see. So Hekate's waiting to submit another class for next year. Why are you waiting? Why are you waiting? Don't wait.
A lot of cool stuff in the wings right now.
No need to wait though. All right. So I can get behind all the damage types if we activate it in the beginning. If not, if we're intending this, if it has to be activated upon a hit, we have to narrow down the damage it can do. It can't do every type of damage out there. Yeah. Psychic makes sense. Necrotic makes sense. Radiant can make sense. Lightning, cold, fire are okay. But all of them all at once, like we'd have to narrow it down to, it's like if you wanted to do psychic, radiant or necrotic, and then it's one of those 3, and then you roll a d6, and it's like on a 1, 3, 5 it triggers, and a 2, 4, 6 it doesn't. I'm fine with that, right? If you want to do the basic ones and do a d4 or do a d6 and a 4 or 5, don't proc, but a 1, 2, 3, doing it that way is fine. All of the damage types, just I can't wrap my head around how it would work unless you pulled it from the start.
From that place.
Yeah, and then the idea is it's not a magical weapon, it's the essence of one. So the fact that it only gets 1 burst per turn, I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah.
And the fact that like you got rid of needing to roll to proc it, just choosing to be able to do that, I'm down with it. you also mentioned adding in the language of saying that your spectral weapons now count as magical.
Yeah.
I'm totally okay adding that here too.
Yeah, I think that doesn't add too much. Like, you're already getting some of the magic damage from the added damage, whatever the type you end up getting. But yeah, just saying that it's magical, I mean,
because choosing not to, because again, I like the idea that you're not choosing to add damage, because maybe it won't be, I don't know why it wouldn't be beneficial, but
sure.
simply the fact that you can overcome magic is good, I think. Okay, so other than that, pretty good. I think we only get one ASI between 7 and 10.
Let me check. Between 7 and 10, you get an ASI, you get an Indomitable, which allows you to reroll a saving throw.
Oh,
and
nice.
then you go back to your archetype character.
All right, so now we're gonna get Ethereal Defense. At 10th level, you can summon Spiritual Armor to protect yourself. As a reaction, when you are hit by an attack, you can roll a d6. On a result of a 4 or 6, you summon Spiritual Armor that grants you resistance to the damage type of the triggering attack until the start of your next turn. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. You regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. So automatically, love that we're getting to defensive.
Yes.
Absolutely love that we're getting to defensive. As a reaction, so it's a class ability that requires a reaction. Not terrible. You still get to choose.
Sure.
But it's a reaction you get to choose to turn on or off. You get to choose when to use it, but you can still fail. Again, it's that roll a d6 only proc. So it's an ability I can't control. What I would prefer to do is, as a reaction, you can roll a 1d6 and even a 1d4 and add that to your AC, maybe. Like, so it's not a guaranteed pass fail. It's just a maybe I can get out of this fail.
I will say the first level spell Shield does better than that. So as a 10th level feature,
what's the shield do?
It just automatically gives you a +5 to your AC until the start of your next turn.
Yeah. So if this is a feature, then again, if it's a feature and not a spell, then it wouldn't be as powerful, right? It wouldn't necessarily.
Yes, but
well, it is a level 1 spell though. That's true. It's
yeah. So like
spell.
as a level 10 feature, like when I'm getting this late in the game, I will say just getting resistance to the triggering it. Like I like that.
Yeah,
like, I'm not mad at that being what you get from this
because that automatically nullifies. I guess. I mean, realistically, that just automatically nullifies the
it just
attack.
means you take instantly. You instantly take half damage.
Yeah, half damage.
Yeah. Which is nice. Like it's basically uncanny dodge for rogues. But
and the fact that it's against your proficiency modifier, I don't even think we need the d6 roll. Honestly, since it's just as a reaction, when you're hit by an attack, you can become resistant to it till the start of your next turn.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
That's totally fine.
I would just remove the roll of the d6.
Yeah, just proc it.
This.
Just as soon as if you choose to burn your reaction for that, that's so, because we're talking about like reactions can be so powerful in this mid to late game, but as a fighter, that is way powerful. That is such good use of a reaction to gain that level of resistance, especially against I mean, again, and we're talking about, it doesn't say it just says an attack. It does not say melee attack. So this means you can automatically become spell resistant, like fire resistant. Like that's huge.
Whatever the damaging type is, whether it's piercing damage, slashing damage, bludgeoning damage, or fire, psychic, force, whatever.
Just the fact that you can become resistant, and again, you're more likely to get hit by it again if you're in the thick of it.
Yep.
So yeah, I would 100% agree. At 10th level, get rid of that roll. Just let him do it. Just as a reaction, you become resistant to that attack if it hit, and it includes that attack. So you automatically drop half damage on the attack that just hit you, and then any subsequent attack right after that.
Oh, so you'd extend it to until the start of their next turn. That's kind of cool.
Well, because this one says that, right?
It just says on the triggering attack damage.
Well, it says and triggering attack damage until the start of your next turn.
Oh, yeah,
I love that. And the thing is if you allow this to, if you just say it triggers right when I do that, any enemy that has multi-attack, again, if an enemy's coming at me with multi-attack, I immediately take all half damage because they're more likely going to hit me with the same attack. Right? If it's a sword, I'm going to get 3 slashing damage. Well, guess what? I'm going to have resistance to that from the get-go. Like from the very first one you hit me with, I'm just going to activate this.
For sure.
And again, reactions like knowing whether to keep this versus take that opportunity attack.
Yeah.
Sometimes you might be like, there's nothing here that I have to worry about, right? So I'm going to take the opportunity attack. but there might be a situation where you're like, no, I'm gonna let that guy go. I need to focus on this guy's attack.
Yeah.
I really like that. I think it's a great ability. I just think that there's no reason to give someone an ability that they can't use. And I don't mean that because they can't use this, but the fact that the fact that someone could literally never get this off. There is a chance that this would never, someone could be unlucky enough to play this character and play every single time. They would just not work. And that's not a class feature.
Yeah.
Like, I don't mind that for spells. I don't mind that for like objects and magical items. But for a class feature, this needs to be something you've mastered. You can do poorly, but you can't fail.
Yeah.
Is that a better way of putting it?
No, I feel that. Yeah, you can roll low on your damage. You can do a lot of different things, but like having it just be a thing that just doesn't go off feels bad. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I really do think that's a cool ability.
And I think maybe as you get higher in level, you at some point could change that to a short rest. I feel like
totally am okay with
feel like that would be
like level 18 or something like that. Like
you could take a short rest and start using these like almost every combat.
I would totally be fine with that. Yeah. All right. Well, and again, it's because it's enough times on your proficiency bonus. So every combat that'd be dope. All right. So 10 to 15.
10 to 15, we have a second extra attack. So you have 3 attacks with your main action at this point at 11th level. Another ability score improvement, another use of your Indomitable feature, getting to reroll saving throws, another ability score improvement, and then finally back to your martial arts.
All right, so at this point, we've had 5 feats that we could have. So I definitely think at this point, we probably, I think we definitely be wanting access to that bow. I think an archery feat would have been good by now. Being able to do extra damages, like extra elemental damages. I don't know if there's any specific feats that would really help us out with that. I definitely know that there are some feats that would help us out with improving our AC and our defenses.
Yeah. I swear there was one that could give you resistance. Resilience? No. You just get proficiency in a certain saving throw.
Yeah. Because I'm trying to think of, like, again, how would the subclass, like, how would your feats, because there's a couple ASIs I could see that would benefit this, but how would some extra feats really, like, throw down with this? I mean,
yeah.
Oh,
I'll be right back.
Oh, what would be really interesting is, I mean, it doesn't really say it, but being able at this point to give the player the option if they had whatever feat allows you to wield 2 weapons at once, like the dual fighter or the dual weapon master. That would be really cool, as if I could use this to have like 2 spectral daggers. That'd be really cool. Also, it doesn't specify, so I wouldn't mind figuring. I mean, oh, there really isn't a dagger; it's only a sword. So maybe also around like level 10, we might even be able to put, like, on top of the fact that you can do this as a reaction. I wouldn't even mind adding at level 10. Expanding the weapon list, even like, adding a couple extra weapons, that would be really interesting. I guess for a fighter, you have the majority of them covered. But like, if they were able to come across a different weapon and like not necessarily attune to it, but do something to where they could incorporate a new weapon type into their selection, that would be really cool. Being able to choose what weapon, I know that we mentioned that before. So yeah, I'm really liking this. I would definitely have to spend a lot of time figuring out what feats would really be best to incorporate with this one. I think Kage is right, though. I think doing the multiple martial arts types, I think that would be really beneficial. You would be able to benefit from all the different weapons that you're holding. And anything that would help with defense, especially because you're getting that resistance. So anything that helps with resistances to damages, I think if there's any feats for that, that would be fantastic too. All right. Once he gets back, we'll go on to level 15. This has turned out pretty well, though. I do like this so far. All right, so level 15, weapon mastery. By 15, you have honed your ability to summon and wield spiritual weapons. When you summon a spiritual weapon using your ward weaponry feature, you can choose the weapon type instead of rolling it randomly.
Love it.
Additionally, your spiritual weapons count as magical for the purpose of overcoming resistances and magical immunities.
Okay.
So I feel like as brilliant as this is, I feel like level 15 is just too late.
I was gonna say I feel like those two things. Is that the?
I feel like honestly, I feel like those could have been part of level 10 and we could get more. You know what I mean? Like I feel like as cornerstone as those are at level 15, I mean, that's so late in the campaign.
Yeah.
It feels so late to be able to choose what weapons I'm using.
I was debating whether I think both of those should be level 10 or if we could just switch them. I feel like if you made level 10 a little bit more powerful, then it would be cool to switch them. Like maybe you could expend 2 uses to gain immunity to the triggering type or something like that. Especially at level 15. What's your proficiency bonus at level 15? Proficiency bonus at 15 is 5. So spending 2 uses in that would get you at least to do it twice. You can give yourself immunity twice between short or long rests.
Because I really like all of these abilities. I really like being able to gain resistance. I really do think that your spiritual weapons should be magical, but I feel like that should be way earlier. Because again, like you said, you're already gonna have magical weapons. Like I feel like you'll be behind the party. If you're trying to focus in on these weapons by 15, you're gonna be far behind them in terms of usefulness.
Actually,
so that needs to happen way earlier.
We were talking about we could do that at level 7.
We really could.
And then just add.
And honestly, that's what it should be. So honestly, acting as magical weapons should happen at the same time of being able to add magical damage.
Yes.
So 7 should have magical weapons. And choosing your weapon should be at level 10. Along with, I think that should be along with.
I agree.
The reaction to armor. So realistically, level 15's open for more. We definitely can think of it. So let's go to 18. And we'll see if that has an ability to go to 15. We'll see where the gap is. Is it 15 or is it higher?
Got you.
So at level 18, Spectral Arsenal. At 18th level, you can summon a variable armory of spiritual weapons. As an action, you can summon a spectral version of any weapon you've seen before. This weapon has a +2 to attack and damage rolls, lasts for 10 minutes. You can use this feature once per long rest. That's sounding close to a capstone. I definitely wouldn't mind seeing that at level 15. So that could easily be pushed down to level 15.
Right.
Being able to choose any weapon at this point, like any weapon that you've seen, you can just, I want that weapon. Having a +2 automatically to it, I do like that. And then it would, benefit from all of the other things, right? You can just choose that one and it would benefit from, and then again, it would benefit from.
You can still use the unstoppable assault or unpredictable assault.
Yeah. So in that case, again, I think that's great at level 15 because again, that's still that's later mid game. You're still going to be having a couple good fights, right? I feel like, at the very end of it all, what would be a good what would be a better capstone than that? Oh, here we go. I like this one. Here's an alternative level 18. So if you move this up to level 15, right, and spread the love out there, what if as a capstone at level 18, when you use Wyrd Arsenal, you can summon one additional weapon as if it were spiritual weapon.
I was thinking exactly that.
And it basically it can act on your turn. And maybe you can even say it can share. It has its own one. It's one of its own attacks, like spirit weapon, but maybe it shares your attacks.
So almost like the Echo and Echo Knight, you can make some of your attacks through it instead of your location.
Yes, so you can basically attack at distance, and it has like one of its own attacks, but it also shares yours. So on your turn, you can just like hack and slash at someone.
I like the idea if you summon a bow apart from yourself, it's a ranged bow.
Yes, 100%. It's a ranged weapon. So I would say that sounds way better because again, I'm thinking Gilgamesh, so I'm thinking like his ultimate ability is usually just a bunch of portals and a bunch of weapons come out, and he's just like he's not throwing them, but they're just being launched.
I kind of
want
get
that
multiple of them too.
And that's what I'm saying. Is like, so I wouldn't mind as like the
2 or 3,
like yeah, just like as your capstone is when you use your armory, you can summon more than one, and they basically act as spirit weapons, like the spell spiritual weapon, where they're just floating next to you and can make attacks. They can move away from you, and you can. I mean, in that lasting for a minute would be fine.
Yeah,
just even in 1 minute, but you have now 3 bodies on the field that are all having their own like.
I really do like that. I really do like that as a capstone. That's honestly exactly what I was thinking.
So that's what I would say. I think, I mean, I love everything that this gives. I just feel that it could be stronger. I feel like
it could be earlier.
Yeah, some of these things could make it, because knowing what we've seen before and what we've seen with other subclasses, I just feel like this will feel like it's falling behind. I feel like you really, you want to see the capstone, but this one, I don't feel like you're even going to feel worth it until you're damn near done with the campaign. And that's, you want a good capstone that makes you feel like you finally achieved like the end result, but I don't feel like you want to be waiting to feel complete. Like you're waiting to feel like you've been useful. So I do feel like this thing can deserve to be a little bit more powerful. I don't think there's anything wrong with breaking weapon mastery up, moving the spirit, your spirit weapons being magical up to 7, and your choice of weapon being up to 10, like the choice of that selection,
and then all of 15 being moved,
and then 18 being moved to 15. So then that point you get any weapon of your choosing that's now magical, and that's a spirit weapon, and then your final will be being able to select or have multiple spirit weapons that's summoned around you. That sounds like such a dope ass like option.
No, I'm 100% here for that. I think that's gonna be way cool shit.
All right, so I like it. I think it's powerful. I think it's not over powerful, but I do think that in the right hands, it could be really fun to play with the right lore, with some of the right tweaks. I think that as is, there's a little bit left to be desired. I think that most players, even a good min-maxer, will be waiting a long time to really feel this through.
Feeling it out.
Yeah. And I really do think that early on we are feeling a lot of weight being given to the feats. I really think that if you were ASI focused, this would be not lackluster, you can't do anything, but it's definitely
you feel like you have less options on like how you execute,
at least in combat, right? Yeah. I feel like adding in some of those features earlier on will keep the fighter to pace with what other fighters would feel like.
Okay.
And again, really focusing on the fact that thinking about, like, again, rules is written versus rules is intended. This is intended to be like your mainstay. Your spirit weapons are your weapons. You absolutely have to keep in mind, when is the rest of the party going to have their first magical weapon?
Yes.
If they're going to have a magical weapon before level 10, but he doesn't get magical weapons to level 15, why would he use his ability? I would much rather go find a +3 sword and say, fuck my ability. And then just
hold on to that.
Yeah. So the fact that putting his level at level 7 means that even if somebody or half the party has a magic weapon by level 5, 2 levels away, he's like, I can have any magical weapon I want. All my weapons are magical. Yes. My bow's magical, but you only have.
Shoot, when does monks get that? Because at a certain point in the monk progression, their fists become magical weapons.
Right. So you wouldn't want that as a fighter. You wouldn't want the monk's fists to be more powerful than your spirit swords.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I feel like that's really what we're fighting against. Is if you move these things up
6th level, that makes total sense. They get key empowered strikes at 6th level. So if you get it 1 level after them, that's no
you're
big
totally
deal.
fine. Because again, you have more variety as well. Plus, not only are you waiting on a level, but once you get that level of magical, then you also get magical damage that they don't get. So there's your trade-off, right? You're getting more attacks. You're getting your attacks that are magical, but you're also getting more damage output. So I really think that it has a great progression. It's just shy of being really meaningful and impactful. And I think all it really needs is not new stuff, not different stuff. It needs all that it has. It just needs that thing's a little bit sooner. And then one good capstone.
Fair enough. I'm super here for that, definitely.
But I do love the feel it gives. Again, what I always like to talk about too, I love the idea, but I want this description to be like one or two more sentences. Give me just give me a sentence about the armory. Is it, be like, the followers of the Wyrd Armory have mastered the art of conjuring spirit weapons, of unlimited power. They are able to, reach through the fabric to a long lost, like demigod's arsenal,
Right. Demigod's plane.
or they've been granted, the authority to retrieve. Like, I just give me a little bit more as a DM on how to enrich this story, because it's cool. But again, I had to go to Gilgamesh in my head from Fate Zero.
Yeah.
That's the direction I went. But other people are like, okay, cool. They're just like conjured, but maybe that's not what you want, right? Maybe it is more of a physical. I'm a fighter. I've fought with, weapons, so I know how they feel. I just have to feel it in my hands, and it manifests, right? You know what I mean? It really just, I feel like the lore could add just a little bit more to how I want to role play it, and how as a DM and as a player, I want this to literally manifest in game.
Yeah. No, I feel that.
But other than that, it's a great idea. I do have something like this, so it won't get the inspiration point, because basically a version of Gilgamesh, like
already exists.
That not Gilgamesh himself, but a version of that type of character already exists.
The type of magic, the type of
yes, but it's not typically in a subclass. So I do give credit where credit is due. I don't have a subclass, but I do have that type of magic. And I do think it needs a little bit of work to be really impactful. I think as is, like I said, it's not wrong, it's not underpowered. It's just shy of impactful.
Feels a little incomplete.
Yeah. But it has a lot of great features, and it's in the right direction. So I will say a 6 out of 10.
I like it.
It's still really solid. It has a lot of good direction. It's still usable. It's just, I think it would fall in the background as is. Like, again, not like you would not be able to keep up, not like you wouldn't be able to use it. But I do feel like at the end of the day, this would be like the background character. He's there, he's doing damage, he's fighting. But at the end of the day, without a really strong acting character, like a player who can really like play in character,
right?
I just don't feel like they're going to get a lot of good moments with this character. You know what I mean? It's a lot of visuals. The idea of spawning a weapon, what it can do. There's a lot of visuals, but there's not a lot of like showmanship, or in terms of like, I'm going to kill the BBEG with this attack.
Right.
I'm going to be able to push us in the right direction. But I don't see that. I don't see that flashy moment where you're going to get to like be the star of the show.
Yeah.
Some wizards, they get a really powerful spell like Power Word Kill. I mean, that's always a moment when you can get Power Word Kill off.
Sure.
That's a literal showstopper, right?
Yeah.
Paladins, you get a really good smite.
Banishment, even.
A good banishment. There's a lot of good, but this, I'm wondering, when am I going to get that moment in the entire campaign where everyone's going to remember when I did the thing?
Right. And at least doing the thing in relationship to your subclass. Because if you do it just as your character, which is totally possible, it doesn't make this, it doesn't highlight what you got from who you are from this subclass.
And like, imagine being at the BBEG, like you could get the final kill as this character. Anybody can get the final kill, but imagine having the ability to be like, you've summoned, your capstone, you have 3 swords floating, or your sword, your spear, your hammer, and you're holding this glowing axe, right? And you're going out the BBG, you have 5 attacks, and it's like your second attack takes him down, and you get like a crit on your second attack, and the DM's like, finish him, go ahead. And you're just like, as I bring it down, I slam him to his knees, and then the spear comes in and stabs him through the back. The axe comes in, or like,
oh heck, like, yeah.
You could just do this thing where like
heck,
I use
yeah.
all of my attacks, and like that's your moment. That's the moment this class would shine, when you get to, even if it's not the BBG, but just imagine being like, oh, I take this and I stab him, and then I take
troll, or like a hag, or just some sort of a dragon, maybe.
But the final, that final kill of all your weapons just coming in.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, that would be such a cool. But again, you're not going to get that without someone who's really, really good at role playing, or that kind of a capstone. Because otherwise, you're just the guy that just, I have a sword.
Yeah.
And you're just, and again, I knew I played with somebody who literally like built their kit around things like spirit weapon, mage armor. Their entire thing was they were just unassuming, but they had an ability to just kind of like in like 2 turns just be covered and surrounded. Like they literally had spirit weapon, mage armor. It was like within 2 rounds they had a way where they were spirit armor or mage armor, spirit weapon, and a summoned like attackable creature. Like they had a summon just in like 2 rounds, and they were just looking badass and fear. You're like, dude, just a second ago you were in like nothing but cloth. You were just like some meek thing, and now suddenly you're just like roided out with like magic, and it's like that's the cool image. But they painstakingly built out how that would work in order to do that. So I really do like having the ideas here.
No, I like it a lot. I think that works well.
So yeah, I think totally a 6 out of 10 works. I think it could use a little bit of powering up, but there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just it needs a little bit of oomph. I'm really curious though, Soul, if you do take our advice on this, let us know what you decide to do for Capstone. If you take our advice and just move 15 around and move 18 down, I'm really curious what you would do for Capstone, because I do think the idea of having multiple of your weapons, or hell, just make your Capstone that you summon them all.
Oh, wild. Yeah.
Just you summon, you get to hold 2 of them, and the others are
just
floating.
Kind of there. You can just grab them and use them whenever.
Or they attack on their own. They and again, you could just say that they all use your attacks. So you can attack one person, and you can have it cinematically just surround them, and all 5 of your attacks are from yours. Because again, you have 5 weapons and 1 shield.
Yeah.
So technically, I think you can get 5 attacks by like 18th level.
Oh, let me look.
I think by the time you get all of your extra attacks and your action surge.
So you have
your base attack.
Your Capstone is a last third attack. So you have 4 attacks in 1 round. Plus, you can always do a bonus action attack.
And then you have your surge. So imagine your Capstone is when you activate Wyrd Armory or Wyrd Weaponry. So your Capstone is you activate Wyrd Weaponry, you choose 2 weapons to hold in each hand, and then the other 4 float around you, have a range of 10, and use all of your attacks. So at that point, you can literally hold up a shield with extra AC, hold up your sword, but then fire behind you with the bow that's floating above your head. You know what I mean? Like being able to just say, okay, I action surge. I'm gonna do 2 bonus attacks, so I'm gonna get 10 attacks this round. The bow's gonna fire 3 times. The sword's gonna go over here. The spear's gonna do this. I'm gonna do. You know what I mean? Like that would be a dope. Okay, I want this to be the Capstone. I want the Capstone that like once per long rest, when you activate Wyrd Weaponry, or you can activate this, whatever you want to call it, right? Or call it the arsenal, right? Just call it like the Wyrd Arsenal, and you just get all 5 or all 6.
All the weapons,
all of your weapons,
2 in your hands, and the rest surrounding you.
And one of those can be the one that you got to custom, obviously, because remember earlier you got to one custom. One of them can be one custom build. The other ones are your defaults. Because damn, that would be just so.
I do like that.
That would be just so cool if you're just like fine, and then just be surrounded and you're just like, let's go. And then imagine, because they're all like technically the spear, or your spear could technically be considered ranged, so you could technically throw it. If your bow is ranged, you can throw the spear.
Yeah,
I would be okay with like being able to just launch the spear as an attack. That would be so cool. I'd be curious,
like how you'd get it back, or if you would have to like bring it back to you like returning weapon or something like that.
I think you'd have to you can either get it, or you'd have to be within 10 feet for like the telekinesis to work. I'm okay with like spirit weapon level control working within 10 feet, but beyond that, it's considered ranged and it's out of your thing. But I digress. I think it's a cool item. I want to see more stuff like this, or not item, but I think it's a cool subclass. I think it could be not even a ton more powerful. It doesn't have to be a whole lot. I just think that it could be a little bit more substantial, have a little bit more impact, and make the player feel like they got to the point sooner. That's really my biggest critique on it. But it's a cool ability. Man, now I'm just wondering. Oh, so subletting this, right? Let's talk about subletting this.
Okay.
So let's talk about Gilgamesh. Like let's just use Gilgamesh as like the inspiration, right? So a warlock would obviously have like access to this, right?
Yes.
So you have a warlock that could almost like almost as a cantrip, they could like roll a d8, and it's like imagine a cantrip or a certain level spell, right? So let's say it's like a first, like they cast a spell at like a level of their choosing that they can cast, right? And what will basically happen is it's a ranged spell that will launch a random weapon of a certain category. So if you cast it at first level, it'll be like a 1d6. If you cast it at third level, it'll be a 1d8 weapon. But basically, it's like a random weapon will just launch out.
I almost like this as being like a replacement for
Your
Eldritch Blast.
Or yeah.
Because
You
Eldritch
just
Blast is a cantrip, and later you get multiple beams of your Eldritch Blast, so you could just turn that into multiple weapons.
yeah, and you just literally like fire a weapon, and then it just does its damage, and then it will disappear.
Yeah.
So it's literally you're just pulling weapons, and I'm thinking again from Fate Zero, and then I'm thinking, okay, so if that was like the Warlock version, this is the Fighter version. I'm wondering, like, so imagine the Wizard version is almost like Wild Magic-ish, where instead of not knowing what weapon you're going to get, like you're basically pulling in and pulling out like a random spell.
Interesting.
Like I don't know how that would work if it's not quite like.
So there, I forget where I saw that, but there was this concept of living spells, like spell creatures.
Oh,
Like an embodiment of a spell as a creature with a stat block. So,
interesting.
like, you know, maybe not like that, but I feel like if you're going to be a wizard pulling stuff, like there would have to be like a manifestation of that spell in some way, shape, or form.
Oh, maybe the wizard, maybe their ability is that, like once per day, they can pull out like a wand and it'll have like a certain set of charges, kind of like how this one had, you know, the d8s like of different damages. Maybe the wizard will have like a spectral wand. That's their arcane focus.
Oh, that's cool.
But maybe it could imbue their spell. So yeah, so maybe like, so this one at we said 7th level, they are able to, you know, pull a weapon of a certain damage type.
Yeah.
So by 7th level, the subletted wizard of this would be able to basically pull an arcane focus, like a wand. Let's call it a wand. So they would just be able to reach in, pull a wand, and by 7th level, they can pull out a fire wand and be like, all their spells are now imbued with extra fire damage.
Wild.
Or if they cast any spell that has an element, it's now fire.
Okay.
So any spell they cast is now the element
That would
of
be
their choosing. So that, because again, they can choose what spells they know as a wizard. That would be really interesting. The reaction can still be the same. I mean, you can still give most of them that reaction or to resistance.
Right.
And again, weapon mastery. Like there's a lot of ways I think that we could sublet this. I think that would be really interesting to sublet, like the idea that you basically have access to what accounts to a demigod's arsenal, and you're just kind of randomly getting access to certain things. But once in a while, they'll give you access to like the really juicy stuff. Just every now and again, you'll crit and you'll get access to like a big boy weapon. Like there you go. You have fun with that.
That would be wild. That would be so wild.
I was watching you two talk about that. I'm really curious what you guys have. I'm really curious what you guys come up with. Let us know in the Discord when you are ready for that. You should sublet homebrew submissions for a stream. Yeah, I mean, I guess we kind of did. Well, Echo Knight really wasn't a homebrew. It was at one point.
It wasn't, yeah.
But no, I could see us doing that, like taking some of y'all's homebrew. I mean, we have the Shadow, like we have the Monarchs, like the Ice Monarch, the Shadow Monarch.
Yeah.
We could always do those.
I like that.
Yeah, we'll have to think of something. We might do the Ward. Maybe we'll do this one. We'll do the Wyrd Armory one day, because I do think that we could turn this one into something at least.
For sure.
All right. Oh, that was you. I was like, what's going on in Discord? I'm getting pinged.
Yeah.
I'm getting pinged. You're doing stuff. All right. Well, congratulations. I hope you enjoyed that review. I hope that you agree with it. And I hope the notes that you took are going to be well worth it.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited to see how you end up modifying it and what it ends up looking like.
So you guys have a subclass idea, submit it together. So wait, so are you guys basically saying that you each have an idea? You're going to do, you're basically each going to make a subclass off of the same idea, but you're going to each submit two different.
Or you guys actually collaborating on a single subclass?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. So it's either that they're going to collaborate on a subclass for us to review, or they're each going to basically make the same subclass, but
differently.
Yeah,
their own versions of it. Okay.
Yeah, so let us know. Yeah, but I think it sounds like they're each going to do their own, and then but it's going to be of like the same idea. So like Echo Knight, but they both take a different.
So it's their own sublet.
Kind of. Okay. We'll do that. Well, maybe depending upon how that looks, maybe we'll do that on a like a special episode. Maybe we'll just do like a midweek episode or something. We'll look at those separately.
That would be kind of cool.
I am really excited for next year. Once I get the table set up in the back, I am so excited for the games that we're gonna be able to run. The actual like gaming. I'm really looking forward to gaming in High Point on stream. It's just I so don't want to just turn into just
everything else you see.
Yeah, I really want to make sure that when we do it, it works. And it would be so amazing if I can get this project to work. Because if I can,
100% agree.
Having chat and players, having anybody who comes in be able to have access to the entirety of everything, being able, because one of my biggest problems and the reason why I want this to work so bad is like, you know, everyone always talks about like, oh my god, Critical Role is so great, but if you didn't hear about Critical Role until fucking season 2, oh yeah, just go listen to the, you know, the 400 episodes of season 1 and just get caught up real quick. Or how many times have you heard, oh, this is a great podcast, it's a great D&D podcast, but just pick up at season 3 because the first 2 seasons weren't worth listening to. But then you're like, but there's a lot of like inside jokes and a lot of stuff, but I really don't want to suffer. Like, and for us, like how many people come in and we've talked about stuff and they just don't know, or people have asked questions that we've already done, right? So the ability to have something that we and chat and audience and players alike can go to that can prompt questions and answer them faster than I could on only the things that we've already covered, right? I can always be able to make new content, but the idea that you can go back and be like, what are the rules that you talked about this, or what did you think about this, or, you know, how does this work in High Point, or what is the, like, being able to go to a point to where we could be live, have someone come in and chat and go, oh, you know, this is my first stream where I missed last stream, and be able to go to our website and type in, you know, like what happened last stream and actually have it properly summarize and highlight what happened, right?
Yeah.
That's going to be really important. And I feel like nobody has that the way that I'm imagining it working. And if I can get this to work,
I think it's going to be very, very cool.
It's going to be game changing. It's one of those things where if I can get it to work in the very bare minimum way that I'm trying to, it's one of those weird things where I think most people, like, I'm not saying that this is a brand new idea that no one's ever thought of before, but it's one of those, I don't think anyone's ever tried to implement it just because I don't think it's ever been worth it.
The way of execution that you're going about this, like, I'm pretty sure there's some nerd that's gone through it and done it with somebody else's channel or something like that, and they did it kind of maybe just for themselves. But like, when it comes to like actually building something for like ongoing for something that you're creating, I would agree. I don't think anybody has this, or at the very least the ambition to put something like this together.
Yeah, considering that I ran my computer for like 20 hours, or no, I think it was like 12 hours, and I got like nothing done.
Wild.
Because the script just kept like cycling, and so I just it'd
be like that sometimes.
But no, it's I just, oh man, if just to be able to, if chat ever has a question that I can't answer immediately, again, just kind of like as quickly as we look it up on D&D Wiki or D&D Beyond, being able to look up our own information that quickly, being able to have recaps, like saving myself the time and not having to bother recapping episodes or recapping what happened, right? Like Old Gods, if I can get this to fucking work, I can apply all of this to Old Gods, and I don't have to edit it. I can literally just say, tell us the story of Old Gods to this day. All of those little things that happened in gaming that we can't remember, literally, imagine we're in the middle of a game and you're like, oh my god, like there was a thing, and I can't, and then literally just be able to type, because you know that's the worst part, right? Is when you want to look something up and you only have like 2 words in your head, and that's not enough for Google to understand. Imagine being able to have a system that you can go in and go, Olo, bald guy, weird feeling, and it should be like, in this episode, you were on this island and you ran into this NPC and you really didn't like how he reacted because you thought he was, you know, brainwashed. And then you found out that he actually had psychic abilities, right? Like, imagine just being able to be like, there was Olo, there was a weird guy and he was bald. And it just be able to be like, well, there's 4 episodes where you specifically talked to a bald guy.
I very much like that. And for me, I honestly, the way I write notes, like I have to write concise notes because I'm not fast enough to like write everything down that I
Dude,
want.
notes,
Like
dude.
if I just say it out loud and I say, "Hey, I'm writing these notes down," and I say whatever the little trigger words that I'm putting in
You
there,
can just tell
I
it
can
to
just search
bring you
for
the
those
trigger
triggers.
words. Not only that, bro, I could literally have all of my players. Like I told you all this before. Players are my note takers, right? Players are my best notebooks. Can you imagine asking my players? Because 9 times out of 10, my players' notes are digitized because they digitize them themselves. They just write their notes. Can I imagine just having saying to everybody, "Hey, send them to this email," and then have the program scrub the email and go, "Oh, cool, I'm logged into this email. Here's a new email full of notes. Let me just add that to the database." So you can literally say, "What were my notes on this episode or in this campaign?" And literally it'd be like, "Here's just the notes you wrote." Eventually being able to add in video processing or photo processing to where if someone has handwritten notes, take a picture of it, and as long as it's legible, I can literally transcribe it into text and then upload it into the database.
I mean, I can lightweight already do that.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes extra steps, but
I can write it, but I can add that to my process.
Yeah.
Like this is what I'm talking about. Is like literally nothing will go, like as long as we're recording, nothing, because that's the biggest bane of D&D, right? Is if you don't write it down, it doesn't exist.
exactly.
As long as we're recording, this can be done.
It'll
And
exist.
and Chad, I know that you guys probably don't care as much, but imagine I just chat, you don't understand how much notes I have that aren't digitized, that are just all over the place. But can you imagine all the stuff that I have in my head where I can just sit down, guys? I can just sit down one day, not on live stream. Just I could have a story of High Point in my head somewhere and be like, I'm gonna sit down, hit the record button, and just talk. And I can sit there by myself in my mind, in my own head. I could literally fucking ramble all I want. And then once I say stop recording, I can hit another button and my program goes in there and goes, "Okay, let me fix it. Let me scrub it. Let me give metadata."
Out of timeline order, would you be able to get it to like reorganize it in timeline order?
Not like that. Not if I said something, I wouldn't be able to tell it to edit it. But contextually, if I say something and later on I go back, "Oh, by the way, when I was saying this, blah, 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 blah," it should be able to tag that with the same category and metadata as the previous conversation.
Right.
So when I ask a question over here, it will also know that things I said later also apply.
So if there's like a conversation between, Dog, the guy he's talking to right now, right? Like you could just have those two people get tagged in whatever moment is being talked about.
Correct.
So like whenever this line of dialogue comes up, it's like Dov and this guy,
And the best part is I can even do things where whether I add them digitally or even verbally, I can just put like little markers. So I could just be like, here are the characters and NPCs currently. Like I could literally either say it or I could just input it digitally to be like, here's just a little snippet of the characters and NPCs involved, the place that they are, and then timeline it is, and it will just track all of that, and I can actually scrub all of that data out.
So clean.
It's absolutely insane. But if I can, and this is just with YouTube, if I can add this into Twitch, I can start scrubbing Twitch chat and adding that in. So we can literally go from asking it, what my thoughts are on a homebrew to what happened in High Point in the First Great War, all the way down to when did Hecate first join the stream. And I should be able to pull that data. So you could be like, when did I join the stream? It was this episode. They were specifically talking about this thing. And then and then it will give you a timestamp and you can go there to the YouTube episode and it'll be like, and you can just literally watch yourself pop up in chat. Like those are the level I want this thing to be able to do, where as long as it happened, you should be able to look it up.
Yeah.
If I can successfully get all of the APIs to work, that is something I've never seen. Being able to just like what Hecate said, how many channel points have I spent? I'd be able to ask it that. If I have if the Twitch API gives me the right metadata, I'd be able to I'd be able to pull that up right now and be like, total points spent by everybody in chat, and I would just have it rank it for me.
Interesting.
Like
that's dope.
Oh,
That's very dope.
Oh, it's a pipe dream, but next year I want
Dude,
it.
I hype or not, I think it's realistic. I think it's doable.
Oh, it's totally realistic. It's just whether or not I have the sanity to do it. But also the crazy part is, what if I do it? What if it's successful? I could package that shit.
Hell yes, you could.
I could go to other content creators and be like, I could package it with a list of instructions on what they need to do. And I mean, can you imagine just being able to be the person that created like the go-to thing for streamers, where it's like, here you guys go, here's everything I've ever done. You can question it and get real answers back. Like, that resource could be so invaluable, not just to D&D streamers, but I mean, anybody, right?
Heck yeah, any streamer.
Just to go back and be able to say, what did I say? When did I say it? Like,
how did I say it?
Right. Oh, and there's other things too. I'm looking at other injections that I can do for the data, right? Once I have it all compiled, I can go back and continue to basically scrub it and then add to it based on what it is, right? So part of the reason why I want Twitch API is it could give us a thing based on what's it called? Forget the word. It's basically like a temperature gauge, but it will literally give out metadata based on like subscribers, followers, chat volume, words in chat. It will actually calculate all of that, and then we could literally over time ask it, what is our most popular topic?
Yeah.
Or you could ask it like, what do people like the least?
Yeah.
And again, it would literally pop up, be like, it would say things like, when Vortex specifically rambles off topic, you get the people leave. Or when you play Balatro, you have the lowest viewer count. But like, it would literally be able to detail out like what's going on, specifics. And each thing will get its own temperature rating, and so it'll actually be able to understand like what's actually getting reactions out of like chat, out of so like, and the more APIs I feed it, the more of that it will understand.
Right.
So if I can get the Twitch one, it's just fascinating that I could literally just so cool,
dude. That could be very sick.
Even be able to again, yeah, well, because you copy chat too, right? So it's like, even if we don't get the API, we can still input chat, and as long as I can tell it what episode it came from, it should be able to link it. Yeah, that's the hard part though, is
the only problem is as of right now, my chat does not have timestamps on it. I really wish it did.
That would timestamps would be better, and I also need to figure out how to link the chat to the right hash file.
Right.
Because otherwise it won't know what episode to link it to in the first place. I need to be able to link it to episodes.
Well, so all of the chats that I've saved are all directly associated with whichever episode that they're from. So.
Right. But the episode name is the episode that it sorts it from, because if episodes have the same name, my code gives it its own unique hash. So it's not just telling it what episode it came from, but it's making sure that it knows what
it knows to associate it with the same hash.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
It'd be interesting if you could associate that like hash with like a specific like name, and so like whenever that name gets matched, then that one gets that associated hash.
And that's why I have to learn what should I do all up front versus what should I do.
Sure. And I think a lot of that stuff you can build on as like add-ons.
Yeah. All right, Hecate. Can I see what I can see from Hecate? Is account created, following since January 8th of this year, tier 1 sub for 5 months. Ooh.
What are the tiers when it comes to subs?
Tier 1, 2, and 3. Basically it's what level of emotes. We only have tier 1 emotes, so it's only tier 1 subs, but you can technically have like tier 2 emotes, so you have to be a tier 2 sub. It's just more, it's how much you pay.
Okay. Gotcha.
I do see you've sent 834 messages.
Wild. I didn't know you could check that.
You have no mod actions on you. But I cannot, it doesn't tell me. Let's see. What do I get? Okay, go away. Can I look at channel? Does not rewards? Oh. Quest?
Ooh.
I'm checking to see if I can see how many people.
Just realized
No.
we got a creature from Soul as well
Ooh.
coming up. So at least glad that we can keep Soul in the docket for new submissions.
Community followers. Let's see. That's unfortunate that it doesn't actually tell you things. I mean, why wouldn't it tell you how many they've spent, channel points wise?
Yeah, it's not. I feel like it's not something that hard to calculate. I mean, can you see how many channel points they've accrued in their lifetime?
So far I can. I'm still looking.
If you see that, you can just ask him how much he's got now, and maybe the difference.
That's I can't see how many they've spent. I can't see how many they have, so I don't know.
Fair.
And I don't. Yeah, I can't see like what they've had in the past. Yeah, no, I don't have any information.
Rude.
Activity. Oh, what if I do at break stream category? That's. Yeah, I already had all that. Unfortunate.
That's all.
Yeah, you would really think that would be like an actual like
Yeah.
like something that people would want. Like, why? It's so dumb.
Yeah,
Who wouldn't want that kind of information? Like, I can't even go in here and see. Like, there's not even a count of how many they've ever been redeemed. Like, you would at least think they would tell me how often one has been redeemed, but no, I can't even see how many times.
that's so weird.
Like, what a rip. What a rip off. Yes, we have tier 1 emotes. We have one tier 2 emote. All right. Well, I guess we're just gonna leave it at that. How unfortunate.
Rude.
All right. Well, I guess that's gonna be it. We'll be back on Friday. Hopefully with a fun topic if my surprise for everybody can't happen. Other than that, we will be back next Monday. What is next Monday's item?
Next Monday, our new item I just
review.
posted in the Discord is going to be the Dread Domain Cleric subclass by Pokenighter.
Ooh. The Dread Domain.
Yes, I'm hoping it's got something to do with death, but again, I keep thinking of like Judge Dredd, so maybe it's like fear-based, some oriented, like some very very scary stuff. The way they can change like their visage or whatever the case may be.
Ooh, that would be interesting.
Yeah. But
I would definitely be down for that.
I also think this would be a cool one to sublet. Maybe like a warlock or even maybe like a red barbarian. Especially for some intimidation.
Something we posted. All right, interesting.
Yes, indeed. No, it's
all right. Well, okay.
No, that's good.
I think there's just a lot more going on in the background, and just a lot more things going on for me. Then I'm just like, why do I feel like there's so much more? I'm like, oh, that's because of other stuff happening. Well, I think that's gonna be us for tonight. Thank you all for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the review. Soul, let us know if you have if that inspires you to do anything with the with build. You can always resubmit it when if and when you've made any adjustments. But I am curious if you decide to change that capstone. Other than that, I will hope that you all join us for Friday, where we will be doing something or another. And
Yes, indeed we will.
let us know once you have done those subclasses, y'all. Those the little same subclass,
Yes,
two different
I know
builds.
you're also Hecate's keeping me in suspense with his submission.
All right, well, we'll keep it up. We love the suspense, y'all. I hope you guys had a fantastic weekend. I hope you have a good week. I hope you have a good holiday ahead of you. Spend some time with family. Spend some time with yourself.
Indeed.
Be good. Be happy. Enjoy. This time of year can be be troublesome for some people. So if you have anybody like that in your life, reach out. It does do a lot of help. Sometimes just a phone call. So if you have anybody that needs it, reach out, say hi, invite them over. Otherwise, I hope you guys have friends and family to go to. And if you don't, just be good. Do what you want to do. Spend time with yourself. Have some coffee. Have some tea. Just enjoy the world a little bit. We'll be back on Friday, y'all. Cheers and have a good one.
Deuces, my friends.